just mic'd up with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there. He's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochinko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team.
6 minutes.
For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochinko can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the Spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her and I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time for the show.
I never want to eat somebody.
Oh,
You had a circus or something.
I'm late. Like, I don't even know what I'd be doing.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you going to bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about that?
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now. Hello. Welcome back to Mic'd Up. Today is Wednesday, October 11th. My head's getting cut off of the screen. Like, can you pull me up just a little bit? Thank you. It's all right. We got Heineken all over the place. Heineken's everywhere. Got a great show for you today. It's a little nipply outside today. It's a little rainy. It's been raining. Needed the rain. If you drive across the basin, boy, it is a desert. Yeah, all the water is gone. It is kind of eerie. When you're driving across the basin, there's like, you see all the tree stumps, like from the bottom up. Not good. Need the rain. Hopefully, get one nice day of rain, and then you just move past it. Get some glorious weather for this weekend. This weekend's going to be beautiful. I think the lows are like 58
66.
or 60 is the low for the night or something.
That's what
I think the high, is 78, 79. Not going to be much humidity. It's going to be great.
The high is 110,000.
High is 100. Well, they don't have 110. It's 103,000.
103.
And change.
Standing room only.
103,000 and some change. You have the 5th straight SEC game for LSU. They are at home, obviously, tonight, this weekend at 6 o'clock against Auburn. They open as an 11.5 point favorite. That is a lot. Auburn is not they have a new head coach. Hugh Freeze is known for being very creative offensively, known for being a good football coach. He's going to have the guys ready to play. Their offense this year is very run heavy. And they have 2 quarterbacks. They use, obviously, Robbie Ashford, who's basically a, unbelievable athlete. He's a running back / receiver / quarterback /
safety.
Get the ball in his hand, let him do whatever he needs to do. And you have Peyton Thorne, who is probably a little bit more of a thrower, but still doesn't throw the ball a ton. They're running twice as much as they are throwing. They're averaging almost 5 yards a carry. So obviously it's a different challenge that LSU is going to have to face compared to what they had the last couple weeks. But they open as 11.5-point favorite. I think they have a lot of momentum. We're going to talk more about that as the show goes on. It is Wednesday. It is Ask Mikey and Mitch Wednesday. It is also, we are also excited to introduce, he's not here today, right now. He's on his way. 6:45 live in studio for the second week in a row. Coach Tommy Moffitt is going to be here. It seems, well, I'll wait till he gets in here, but seems like this could be happening more often, which we're excited about. Obviously, he is known for being one of the better strength coaches around the country. His coaching tree, strength coaching tree, is very, very deep and very big and wide-ranging. So he is very, he's an expert in everything health and conditioning and fitness. And he's been around LSU for a really long time. 2000, he came over with Nick Saban. So we're going to have a lot of football conversations with him, a lot of talks about, what makes the team go, what makes them tick, what goes on behind the scenes. And so we're really excited about having him back in studio for the second week in a row. Again, that's at 6:45. LSU baseball is going through their second week of scrimmages. They play Thursday at 3:30, Friday at 3:30, Saturday at 12:30. And here's
Sunday.
the deal. Huh?
Sunday, right?
I mean, Sunday at 12:30. I was about to say Saturdays. We had a couple Saturday practices before football games. It was a night game, and to be honest with you, I kind of enjoyed them. You get up there, you start the scrimmage at like 10. You finish. It's a quick scrimmage. You get out and you shower, and you just walk out to tailgate, and you kind of have a little bit of the game day energy. Not many of them. We had a couple of them. They don't have that. Instead, they have the Sunday scrimmage where they're going to be a little hungover, I'd imagine. Maybe not.
I wouldn't know anything about him.
I wouldn't know anything about that either. Usually when we practiced on Sunday, we had a scrimmage, it was at night. It was at 5. Coach gave us a little, whatever. But
Coach Savvy so
Jay
separate.
Jay knows. Look, Jay's challenging these guys, which is good. You got a lot of new guys. Got to keep them sharp. Got to keep them sharp.
They should expect nothing different after what he said whenever he was on here. He's like, get ready, boys.
Of course. Which we need to have him back on and see how that went.
19.
How that went.
23-hour days. I'm going to make you boys strong.
Yeah, we need to see how that went, Staying on the baseball topic, Major League Baseball is going on right now. Obviously, they are in the ALDS. The Phillies are up right now 7-1, the bottom of the 5th inning, still hitting in Philly against the Braves. They're going to take a 2-1 lead if they win this game with the ability to clinch to an ALCS appearance tomorrow at home in Philly. Obviously, if you watched the game last night, it was no, not last night, two nights ago. It was an electric finish. I mean, it was Bryce Harper got doubled off to end the game, and you could hear there was video from the dugout. Now with technology and social media, and there's video crews for every team now, just trying to get behind the scenes footage. You see a lot of this stuff happening more often, and they had a clip of Arcia in the dugout laughing at Bryce Harper for getting doubled off, which we're going to get into on the show because I don't think that it was that bad of a base running mistake. We'll talk about it. Harper showed up today with a Deion Sanders Colorado shirt, basically saying it's personal. His teammate, friend of mine, Nick Castellanos, shows up with a Prime shirt on as well. Lloyd, can you tell all the people listening the exchange of text messages that we've had today? Because I'm not going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to let you.
Yeah, I'll do it for you because you made me some money. I think you made Anthony a
Anthony
good bit
made
of money.
some money.
I don't know if he's going to be at work for the rest of the week. I think he's good. But it started off.
That's it.
Yeah, ordered for the team. So it started off. Obviously, we have a massive Braves fan as a part of our crew.
Yep, Jackie Boy.
With Jackie Boy.
He has not responded to much.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah.
And Mikey sees the picture of Castellanos and then Bryce Harper come up on Twitter, puts it in the group chat, and goes, take Harper for a home run tonight. Homer tonight.
Homer.
Immediately, we all hop on it. I don't know if Jack did, Lloyd did, Mikey did.
I'm going to
Donato
bet Jack
certainly
did not.
I'm going to say Jack did not. Anthony did. Then, follow-up text.
Jack comes back with the Colorado versus Oregon and put the Phillies 6 where the Colorado
We don't have to
score
go through
was,
the whole thing.
and Braves were. And Mike's like, all he's got to do is hit a homer.
Yeah.
We're not taking shots
You
here.
don't have to go through the whole text message thing. So Harper homer, and then
Harper
after I
homer.
said, you know what, I wouldn't be.
And then, to be honest, you go, I wouldn't be surprised if Castellanos goes deep too.
So I would take that one
Like,
too.
I know these guys, played with them. And as we stand right now,
Both of
both
them.
have gone deep, and
Actually,
Harper
went deep twice.
has gone deep twice.
And hasn't even celebrated. He has just stared at Arcia the entire game. So
He did
it's
do
just-
the when he crossed the plate, hit him with a
Yeah,
little-
but like usually when you hit a home run, 3-run home run, and take the lead in the playoff in Philly, you're gonna like slam the bat, give like some scream to the dugout. He did not. It is a mission. I know their personalities. I've played with them. I understand those are guys that you kind of piss them off. They want to prove you wrong, and they kind of want to piss you off back. And so, good for them for hitting a homer. I love the fact that I get to watch more games in Philly. I'm hoping that they finish the series. No offense, Jack. I don't want to make you upset, but I like the atmosphere right now in Philly. I think it's really fun. I also have friends on that team, so that is where my heart lies, and that is the picture.
Harper's hair is elite.
Yeah. I mean, that's right up your alley. Right
Yeah, it's my guy.
there.
Talk about-
Nick's a good-looking dude, too, now.
Oh yeah, he does fine.
Nick's a good-looking dude, too. But anyway, it's going on right now. Obviously, they're in Game 2 right now. Rangers swept the Orioles 3-0 in that series. The Rangers move on to the ALCS. Definitely not the Angels. The Rangers move on to the ALCS. Astros lead the Twins today 2-1 with a game tonight. If they win, they go play. It's a Houston-Dallas ALCS matchup, which is going to be pretty awesome for Texas. But yeah, so baseball's going. Diamondbacks lead the Dodgers 2-0. We're going to get into why I think all of this is going on. All the top seeds that had buys that didn't play in the the wild card round are kind of getting their ass beat a little bit right now. And I want to talk about kind of what's going into that. Broncos, Thursday Night Football. We're going to switch back to football a little bit.
These are the headlines, baby. Heineken
the
headlines.
headlines.
You ping pong around.
That's it. These are the headlines. Thursday Night Football. Back on the football's back there. Broncos play on the road against the Chiefs. My theory is going to come into question again. I said in the NFL, anytime there's a double-digit dog, I take the dog. They are 2-10.5 on the road at Kansas City. It's really challenging it, and I don't know if my thought process is very good, but I'm going to stick with it and see what happens.
Big hold your nose moment for
Yeah, that's
Why don't you just take it maybe
That's all I got.
first half?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I'm gonna look at it. I haven't bet it yet. I'm gonna look at it.
This is ultimate theory test.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Chiefs.
But we're gonna have a big show today. I'm very excited to have Tommy in, Coach Moffitt coming back into studio. There's a lot of questions I want to ask to him. There's a lot of conversation about some of these freshmen, right? Some of these young guys who've come in. Why aren't they ready? Are they developed? Or what goes into the development? He's seen a lot of freshmen develop early, play as freshmen, and be high-level performers as a freshman. He's seen guys take 2 or 3 years to develop and end up being All-Americans their third or fourth year in college. What goes into that? What causes that? Is there a way to expedite the process? We're going to ask him all of these questions. Obviously, he's been around a lot longer than we have, and he's the most equipped guy to
Equipped guys.
do that. All right, before he gets in here, let's get our baseball conversation out, because I'm very interested in, we haven't talked a ton about Major League Baseball right now, but it is starting to ramp up, and games like the game on Monday that the Phillies lost was pretty outrageous. And if you didn't see it,
All you needed to see was the last 3 innings of it.
yeah. So I'll recap it a little bit. So the Phillies on the road in Atlanta already took game 1, right? So they are leading. So the Braves take a 1-0 lead. No. The Phillies take a 4-0 lead. Braves score a run, make it 4-1. It's 4-1 into the bottom of the 7th inning. The Braves hit a 2-run home run to make it 4-3. They go into the bottom of the 8th inning. Austin Riley hits a 2-run home run to make it 5-4. Now, the Phillies go into the top of the 9th, down 5-4. The meat of their lineup is up, right? Harper works a walk, no outs. No out walk usually scores, especially in those situations. The closer's in for the Phillies. Harper walks, gets to first base. I think Real Muto is the next guy. He flies out. The guy after that is Nick Castellanos, right? Closer's throwing 100 miles an hour, throws a fastball in the outside corner. Castellanos gets the barrel to it, drives it deep in the right center field gap. Center fielder for the Braves is hauling ass, turns his back, head down, going after this ball. Harper's on first base, down by 1 with 1 out in the 9th. He is the tying run. He's the one that they need to score to keep this game going. He sees a center fielder turn around, numbers to the back, last name, hauling ass. Michael Harris makes this, jumps up against the wall, catches the ball against the wall, lands, throws the ball in, overthrows the shortstop and the second baseman, and gets past the pitcher's mound. Austin Riley heads up play, a la Derek Jeter-esque in a sense. Sees the ball, reads where it goes, fields it, picks it up, doubles Bryce Harper off at first base, ends the game. Right? Crazy way to end the game. People are kind of hammering Bryce about the bad base running. I'm not so much on that train. And Jared, you're not on that train as well.
I'm really not.
You want to explain a little bit of baseball one-on-one here? And listen, did he do it perfectly?
No.
No. But here's the situation. And this
So-
is why I think I'm okay with it.
In my mind here, when I think about going through this, I think the only thing he possibly could have done better is I'm going to get off as far as I know that for sure that if ball's caught, I can get back. With that being said, and the same thought is I'm thinking that he's thinking it is the ninth inning. Their closer is in the game. We have one out already. If I go back, if this ball's caught and I go back to first, what's the chances of us either hitting a double or better and or getting 2 base hits to score me just to get back to a tie ball game, right? So I'm thinking he's thinking to himself that I'm scoring if this ball isn't caught. Because if I'm standing on second with this ball not being caught, besides him being flatlined in center field, I'm not going to score.
Flatline. They're going.
Literally. Like, that's pretty much
Well, because
it.
here's the deal. He misses the ball off the wall. You have the right field and left field.
Right.
And if they're not, that's still them.
Right. And and you know, so like
backing
that's
him up.
probably his only thought. So I'm thinking he's thinking, I'm going to keep going. He touches second, gets past second, and as soon as the ball's caught, he realizes I'm cooked right now, and he tries to get back. But that is pretty much what is called pretty much the one-out rule. One-out rule is a base runner to dumb it down as simple as you could possibly put it. Your job as the base runner is to score.
Right.
From whatever base you are at is to score. So as long as the back is to me of the outfielders and they're still running for balls, I'm going to keep getting more and more ground. And I think he was thinking, if this is maybe the 8th inning, I think there's a chance you see him do something different. If this is the 3rd inning,
he knew he had
I
to
think this is
score.
a chance that he does something a little different. I think he was thinking right there, I have to score or we're not going to get this chance again. And so with that being said, in that case, in that kind of, I guess, magnitude of a situation, I get it. And who would have ever thought you'd see Austin Riley as literally the triple backup, if you will, in that situation, making a play, making a throw on the
Good throw.
cash from under his belt. You know what I mean? Like that's a great play. So that's what I saw. And
Sometimes
I didn't
people
mind
make
it.
in the playoffs like this. Sometimes people make just extraordinary plays, and that's what it was.
It is as heads up and as like baseball savvy of a play as you could possibly make as the third baseman right there.
Yep.
Because if I had to guess, he's probably standing on third when this thing happened. And if I had to guess, as soon as he saw the catch happens, he looks at Bryce. He saw where Bryce was. He saw where the 2 cutoff men were, and he probably went towards that direction. As the pitcher, who was probably on contact, took off somewhere on the third baseline. So there's probably no one really in the middle of the field right there.
And
he
here's the
moved
deal:
in.
if the pitcher fields that, the ball's in right field probably.
Because as soon as he sees Harper have to go back, he realizes, well, there's no play at third.
There's no play coming
So
this
there's
way.
no reason for
Yeah.
me to stay here at third if this ball gets overthrown, which I can promise you right now, 30 teams in the big leagues, there's at least 25 of them are hanging out at third.
No doubt.
And when it gets past, they'll come up and make the play, and there's no play for them to
There's
make
a
it
reason
first.
why there's only 5 of them that are probably still
Exactly.
playing in the big league in
Exactly.
playoffs right now.
So it's as bad as what people kind of perceived the play was by Bryce Harper. I don't think it was perfect, but I understand what he was trying to do, and I think it was an even better play by the third baseman, Austin Riley.
And not to debunk what you're saying, because then it would be heads-up baseball. He came out and said his momentum took him that way because he was screaming, throw it to first, throw it to first, throw it to first. So he's trying to get them to hear
I mean,
it.
Well, he's in the game,
So it
yeah.
put himself
Riley?
in
He's
the
in the
right,
game, yeah.
yeah, but his momentum's not going to take him all the way from third to behind the mound.
Yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
I'm just saying he was literally like yelling and he was
Yeah,
just
right.
watching and he was like, the ball ended
game
up. Yeah.
85 in the middle of August when you're
It doesn't happen
probably
that
up 15 games. He's probably not screaming too much,
Yeah.
and he's probably not moving that far on. And that's kind of how those things happen.
And then after that, you hear the chirping, right, in the video. And obviously, everybody's got social media. Bryce Harper goes to the media and talks to the media after the fact, and then hears that. And then he comes in today. And it's just being around guys like him and being around guys like Castellanos. Castellanos, like, if you don't know him, You don't know his personality. He really does play for the guys on his team, right? Like he's going to take up for these guys. He's going to back them up. That's just kind of his personality. And so whenever he sees that and he sees someone talking like that, he's going to back up Bryce, and he wears the thing. And he kind of took that personally, right? Kind of similar to the Prime effect. And I just know his personality. He's just a guy that, like, if you say something, talk shit to him, he's going to do something really good. Bryce Harper, same way. If you watch Bryce Harper's first home run, 3-run home run, he ran around the bases, really didn't celebrate, stared at Arcia the entire time when he got in the dugout. Then he did it again, hit another home run, and stared at Arcia running around the base. I just felt like it was going to happen, and I'm glad it happened. I'm not always going to be right like that, but the Phillies are playing really good baseball. Aaron Nola just got yanked.
And hit a gem. 5 2/3, 6 hits, 9 punchies.
In the
Nasty.
postseason.
Nasty.
Postseason career high. Nine punchies.
Called the over on that too.
Called the over on that too. I have to give Jack credit on that. He actually brought it up 4.5 because I would take the over on strikeouts. I said I agreed with it.
Would have been a hell of a parlay to put in.
That would have been Anthony. Would have been a great parlay that you wanted to put in that you just didn't do it.
Well, how fun is it to see Nola do that, huh? Like, it's easy for us around here to, like, get on board and cheer for him. But because of his demeanor and how he goes about stuff, he goes so under the radar. And he is an absolute dog, man.
And here's the deal. Like, going into the postseason, he had an okay year. He didn't have, like, an Aaron Nola.
Right.
I mean, he was good. Like, his analytics and, like, behind the scenes, like, the advanced stats would probably look really good. He's going into free agency this year. He's going to be a free agent this offseason. The rumor was before the postseason was that the Phillies weren't going to offer him, didn't want to bring him back. He keeps doing this.
I'm about to say,
a World Series run. Like, this is a huge for him in the free agent.
Whatever
run.
he's doing right now, even if it's not the Phillies, but hard to imagine that if they make this run, that the Phillies don't want to bring him back. But even if it's not them, whoever it is, he's writing his check right here.
No doubt. No, he's gonna make a lot of money next year.
Of course,
for sure, right?
Of course.
Like, he throws innings, he strikes guys out. Like you said, his demeanor, he's even keel guy. Like, that's the guy you want in your rotation, whether he's a 1 or number 5. Like, he's in the rotation every day, every week.
Grabbing the
he's
ball
gonna throw
every 5th day, too.
No doubt. No doubt. What I really do also want to touch on in baseball before we really move on to some other topics is, so they added an extra playoff team, right? And so you have wild card games. You have an extra wild card.
And a wild card series. Instead of a game.
Instead of one game.
Which is what it should have been.
It should have been 3-game series if you want to make it. Yeah. So now you have an extra wild card series. And, you know, if you're not familiar with the wild card, similar to NFL where the top seeds get buys, and then you got to play the wild card game to move on to face the top seeds, right? So top seeds in the postseason this year were the Orioles, the Twins, the Dodgers, and who was the other one? And the Astros won the division?
They won the division, but they played in the wild card series, didn't they?
No, if they won the division, they did. And the Rangers played in the wild card. That was it, right?
Yeah.
No, Minnesota won their division. That's it. Minnesota. So Orioles, Minnesota, the Braves, and the Dodgers. Those are the 4 division winners, right? Well, the Rangers, they didn't play in those are the 4 that did not play in the wild card.
Those were the top 2 seeds from both sides.
Yes, that's
Renato,
it.
this microphone's hooked up. If you're more than welcome.
So the Rangers played in the wild card game, swept the Orioles. Orioles had
100+ wins.
Yeah, like 105 wins on the year.
Yeah.
Right? Astros currently lead the Twins 2-1. The Braves are losing to the Phillies right now and threat to go down 2-1. And the Diamondbacks are beating the Dodgers 2-0. I think that's the most surprising one, right?
By far the most surprising.
Like, Rangers are talented. They have guys. Yeah. You know, Orioles were young, so maybe. But the most surprising one was the Diamondbacks taking a 2-0 lead over the Dodgers. I'm saying this to say those teams that did not have to play in the wild card series had 5 days off, right? And as a position player and as a hitter, those 5 days off kind of get you a little bit out of rhythm, right? Like, you don't have that routine. You kind of take some time off. You're not seeing live pitching in game situations. You're probably seeing simulated games on the field, right? And so these games have come up and they have not scored. Orioles barely scored any runs.
Well,
Dodgers haven't scored any.
Here's the thing that's crazy to me about that, and I think there's a whole lot to it in the sense of to be a playoff team for the most part, you may not be hitting on all cylinders once we get into September, but you're still probably playing some pretty good baseball, right? So to take those 4 to 5 days off and not play, man, honestly, those are only probably helping maybe 2 to 3 guys in the lineup who probably were not playing that great. And the rest of the guys, you're now getting out of that rhythm of actually doing well and playing well and having this thing rolling. So it's hard to take that time off and then pick it back up against a team who never stopped, right? Because once again, all these teams that are making it into the playoffs, you may not be playing your best baseball and hitting on all cylinders, but you're probably playing pretty good baseball. And so sometimes it works. A lot of times it works against those teams that are kind of sitting at home doing nothing.
100%, right? And, you look at the Orioles and, the Orioles haven't been great for a while.
Yeah.
Now you look at them and they're going to be good for a long time.
Yeah.
They got a lot of young talent, a lot of guys there that are going to be there at a cheap price for a while, and feels like they're going to be in a position to make some wins. The crazy thing is the AL East. Everybody talks about how powerful the AL East always is. The 3 longest since the Twins won ended their 17-game losing streak in the postseason. Yeah. The 3 longest losing streaks in postseason right now, active losing streaks, are Baltimore, Toronto, and the Yankees. All 3 from one division. That's tough.
I also heard another stat today too, which is pretty cool because you just
no, not the Yankees, the Rays.
Yeah,
the Rays. That's my bad.
Yeah, since you just touched on the Orioles are going to be pretty good for a while, I heard another stat today that talked about Adley Rutschman, and basically that elimination game was the first time since he's been up in the big leagues that they've had 3 losses in a row.
That was the first series.
Not swept. 3 losses in a row.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
He's a dude.
That should probably let you know that if we can at least get 1 out of 3 every three times we go out there, there's a chance for us to be a pretty good ball club.
No doubt.
First time since he made it up to the big leagues that's happened to that team.
No doubt. That's our baseball conversation for right now. As the postseason continues to
Who's that?
I don't know. It's closed. It's closed. Okay. As the postseason continues to ramp up, we'll continue to have these conversations and continue to talk about baseball because now it's starting to get really exciting, right? Postseason baseball. I do want to jump right into the Ask Mikey and Mitch segment because we have Tommy Moffitt coming in at 6:45, and you know how those conversations go.
Well, you just never know what knowledge he could
never
drop.
know how long they're going to be. And,
it's all knowledge we welcome, so you just never know what you're going to get from.
Lloyd, how are we feeling over there, dude?
Great.
You don't like baseball anymore.
That's not true. I put my whole heart and soul into LSU baseball.
You don't like baseball anymore.
I'm enjoying this. What do you want from me?
You hate
Why would
baseball.
I comment on
You're a fake baseball fan.
something that y'all have so much knowledge on? There's nothing for me to impart. Nobody wants to hear from me during this segment.
Questions? Concerns?
I'm happy. I've got the Phillies.
It's okay. I'm just messing with you.
I got the Phillies in a future that I took in September. I took in August at Phillies plus 3,000 to win the whole thing. So
You're
I'm
looking pretty solid on that one.
big
right now.
Phillies fan right now.
There you go. And
The
look,
ghost
me too.
of Wade Boggs. I'll do the challenge if they win the whole thing.
What is the challenge?
I think
The beers.
The beers.
The beer challenge.
Heineken Silver.
I like that. Yeah. I don't think he drank the Heineken Silver. I don't think it was
It
available.
wasn't out yet.
But it's out now.
Probably could have had 50.
Now you can keep going. Yeah. You definitely blow that challenge out the water because it's,
Then I have to hit.
4%
Then I think I
alcohol,
have to
it's
go
only
like
95
Could have been
calories.
Wade's hydration during the game. Let's just be honest.
yeah. I think I still have to go like 3 for 5 with a homer. And that what he did the next day.
I'm sure he's done it a few times.
Long plane ride.
He can put some down now.
Hall of Famer.
All right, so it's Ask Mikey and
Heineken
Mitch.
Hall of Fame.
Heineken Hall of Fame. Ask Mikey and Mitch. Put your questions in the chat. We have some from Twitter and from social media, but we want to hear from everybody, and we want to hear from as many people as we can. Throw your questions in there. We're gonna answer these and do the Ask Mikey and Mitch segment until it's time for our guest.
Yes, a couple of football questions that we had. Let's dive right in.
Okay, clear it out.
Why isn't LSU more aggressive on defense? If we're not going to get stops, why don't we at least be aggressive and try to create more turnovers? See, played against Missouri that we started to create a little more pressure, which we heard Brian Kelly talk about a little bit. Should we expect more of that moving forward?
I would imagine. I think you saw a lot of pressure being created with the front four too. It's one thing to say, why don't we be more aggressive on defense? And it's another thing of saying, hey, we're just going to blindly go and do it, right? I think I'm going to side note this conversation is the Penn State. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see what who's the head coach over there? What's his name?
James Franklin.
James Franklin.
Might be the mistake of the day.
From the reporter.
Yeah. Obviously.
He could have done better. He was trying so hard not to, really
Flub
crush
it.
this guy. And say, anyway.
Sounded very familiar to some of the things that we heard about Jayden Daniels earlier.
It is one thing to say, hey, let's just do it and just want to do it. Well, it's another thing to do it and can do it in a way where it's going to actually benefit the team. And, yeah, I think you're going to start seeing the defense become more aggressive, but I think you're going to see them become more aggressive because they've kind of figured out some placements for some of these guys and where they need to be, and they're going to be a little more comfortable. And I think the defensive line being better and getting pressure with the front four allows that to be a more effective pressure when you bring somebody else. Go ahead.
I think two things. So up until last game, we would all agree we saw a ton of miscommunication, guys with hands up looking at each other, misalignment, not in the same spot, right? It's kind of hard for me to dial up pressures when I can't even get you lined up. That's one thing. Secondly, when we're not making tackles and we miss 35-plus tackles in the game, it's also kind of hard for me to tell you, well, if you can't get them down, just strip the ball away. Nah, dog, we here. I got you here because you can tackle, right? So when you get to doing the basic and first things first, then we can get to more complex things, which is how do we create turnovers now. So I think ironing that stuff out is what kind of gets you to, in a way, more aggressive play, if you will, right? More aggressive play call, more aggressive plays on trying to get balls out because you're doing the other things correct already. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand.
All right. Next one. Something that we've kind of touched on a little bit. Is there a realistic expectation that the presence of Pete Jenkins can have a measurable effect on LSU's defense and their performance going forward?
Jay, you want to start that one off?
I didn't even hear the question, so I'm trying to read it right now.
Is there a realistic expectation that the presence of Pete Jenkins can have a measurable effect on LSU's defensive performance going forward?
Well, I mean, we just saw LSU get torched for 700-plus yards, and the next week they turn around against a really good offensive team who's undefeated on the season, and it got dialed down to 2 sacks and 500 yards. So I think there's somewhat hand-in-hand of that happening and kind of what's going forward, if you ask me. So I think it's already kind of coming up. It's just not showing up as – I mean, if we're crazy if we thought we were going to see 250 yards after you just saw somebody give up 700.
Right.
So I think it's already happening. So just keep that in mind.
I think that's pretty measurable right there, right? You saw the difference just in as far as total yards. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't the best thing that we've seen. But you had 2 turnovers. We hadn't had that in a long time. We had 2 sacks. We hadn't had a sack in 2 games. You saw the defensive line create pressure on their own. And for me, and we've talked about this, and Brian Kelly said it today in his press conference, the SEC press conferences, he has seen Pete Jenkins make an impact in the tactical side and the technical side of the defensive line, right? It's not the physical side. It's not coaching them up and making them somebody they're not. It's allowing them to be as good as they can possibly be by understanding where their technique is. And so I think that, just with that being said and that ability, that allows the defensive line, you to see a measurable difference and a measurable effect in the defensive line. I think every week is going to get better and better and better. And the more they do it and the more times they do it right, the more confidence they get, and the more confidence they get, the better they're going to play.
And to dovetail off of that, I'm jealous of him that he just gets to gamble all day. Tax write-off for bets and breaks. To dovetail off of that, from Bo Jackson on the live chat, did y'all see Jacoby and Guillory say that Pete Jenkins has the defensive line lining up close to the ball? A lot of LSU fans have been saying that all year, and it took PJ coming in to fix that. What was House doing?
I don't think I was on House.
I think it was the lack of having a defensive line coach in the building.
Let's be honest. There's no reason to take shots and or point the finger at anyone specifically, but there's a reason why you have position coaches, right? Because all these coaches have jobs and they all have stuff they have to do, and there's a whole bunch of responsibility going around. So asking someone to basically micromanage that situation that's not that person's job, that's a lot, right? And it's easy to say what were we doing, but we had no position coach there for a while because of the unfortunate situations that was going on. So I'm not surprised that something like that kind of got awry and kind of went out the window a little bit.
Well, and that's part of what we talked about. Hey, getting him lined up right makes a big difference just in itself. So
alignment and assignment football.
Yeah, and so it's not. I'm not blaming that completely on House. House probably said, "Hey, you need to fix this," and then as the game goes on, they may not have had somebody in their ear saying, "Hey, you're not in the right spot. You're not in the right spot." Blah blah blah.
You're getting farther and farther away. Yeah, there's nobody to check it like that. That's the thing where I put, if you have to lie blame at somebody's feet, it's on Brian Kelly, and because of the way he answered the question when it was posed to him was, I wish I'd have done this sooner, bringing in Pete Jenkins. That's really the only answer you have aside from Matt House's going, well, I liked him back there so they can read and react to the offensive line. By that point, you're pretty much cooked.
Well, offensive come off the ball so quickly. It's not.
You can't let them dictate the action.
They're not playing safety.
Right. So that's what I think Matt House gets a little bit of the blame because that got some run. But I mean, he's covering for his guys. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You were in a lose-lose situation.
Yep. The Fonz is hot on the Twitter questions.
Fonz is always in there. We appreciate my guy. What was it? This is from the Fonz. I know it's been a minute from me, but what was it like being recruited? Or I guess it's been a minute for y'all for being recruited. Makes me feel old also. What was it like being recruited? Was it stressful? I mean, you were committed to Alabama at one point.
I was not committed to Alabama.
Jay Mitch held firm and never went anywhere else.
I'm going to let Jay go second because his was a little bit different than mine. Mine was kind of going in that direction until I had a nice conversation with Jay, and then I made my decision not to play football and just play baseball.
Jay? Oh, I thought you meant Jay Johnson.
Oh, Jay Mitch. Well, I didn't know Jay Johnson when I was coming to high school.
That's what I was saying.
We happen to not know Jay at that time.
Man's been recruiting for LSU.
So anyway, I was a football player. I was getting recruited for both. And, yes, that part was stressful because I didn't know, I was always going to play baseball, but I wanted to play football. And so I was going back and forth. And it was in a weird time of, offenses are changing, but they still wanted these guys. I was a quarterback. They wanted the 6'4" guys that could drop back, pocket passers. And then, but there's – you started seeing some Pat Whites, and I was not Pat White, but, guys that can move around.
We were just ahead of that.
just a little too early. And so for me, it was stressful because in baseball I was a late bloomer, right? I was good, but I wasn't really on the scene. I was known as a football guy, not a baseball guy. And in my junior year, I broke my forearm playing football, and it affected baseball a little bit. And then senior year, I had a really good year. I initially committed to LSU as a preferred walk-on. I didn't have any scholarship money. But I wanted to go here. They were going to treat me as a scholarship player. It was when they had the new rules, the new roster rules. You only have 35 guys. They only had a limited amount of scholarships. And so that was stressful. And then I had a really good senior year, and the draft started talking about maybe drafting me in the top 10 rounds. And Coach Maneri was able to talk to a guy that was supposed to come in, ended up saying he was going to get drafted, ended up having money, and it worked out. So it was a little stressful. Recruiting now, I can't imagine what it's like now. Yeah. I mean, there's so much more. You have so much more. There's ways to get contacted. You have social media is a big thing. Everybody can see everybody. There's no there's not that many hidden players anymore because of the social media and the videos and all this kind of stuff. So right now, I can imagine it being a lot stressful. But yeah, I bet you yours was way different than mine.
It was.
You also had to deal with the MLB draft too.
Yeah, so mine was definitely different, a very, very unique experience.
For those of y'all that don't know, Jared got drafted 11th in the 11th round out of high school. 10th round, my bad. 10th round, my bad. I didn't mean to shortchange you.
I mean, that top 10 round makes a difference, Coach.
No doubt. You're right. Top 10. That's right. He got drafted in the 10th round, turned down a lot of money. He was also a top 100 football recruit. He was a 4-star wide receiver that came to LSU.
Which is news to him.
Which he didn't know he was a top 100 football recruit.
I did. Y'all are such liars.
You said it out. It came out of your mouth.
Find the tape. Anyway, so it was a really unique experience. I'll say this. My sophomore and junior year of high school, I think that's when things were the craziest. There was a lot coming in from all different angles all over the place and stuff like that, right? And then as I got into my senior year, believe it or not, it all kind of calmed down. And I think it was I'm pretty sure it was all around the idea of no one ever really thought I was going to make it to campus. So a lot of baseball offers from out-of-state schools were pulled back because everyone knew LSU was in on it. A lot of football offers were like, well, this doesn't make any sense. The kid's not going to come here anyway. Like, he's not going to make it to campus. So I would say probably about 5 to 6 schools that were strong still at that time, which were still, at the time it was like LSU, Arkansas, Ole Miss,
South Carolina.
A&M, South Carolina. It was like 5 or 6 schools that were still like really very much so in the mix, like trying hard. And you believe it or not, a lot of other teams were just like, yeah, I mean, we would love to. We know how this is going to end up. So it's a waste of our time at this time. So like that's kind of, as I got into my senior year, believe it or not, it really just kind of like, it was a lot more chill. It wasn't as crazy. It wasn't as all over the place. And I just kind of heard from the same people until I made my decision.
Yeah, crazy.
Was this?
Can't imagine now. Like now, you'd be even more it'd benefit you even more because.
Oh, I don't think they would. If me happened right now, I don't think they would stop simply off of the thought, hey, look, if we can get him here, he can still make a lot of money here. So there's no reason to kind of get him off of this because everybody's kind of figuring out a way to work NIL in your favor and get you on campus. And truth be told, like for kids now, like unless you are a top 15 to 20 pick, the idea of coming to school makes a lot of sense.
Uh-huh.
It really does, especially if you were in the situation that I was at the time. Makes a hell of a lot of sense.
I mean, you got a guy coming over from Asia to come partake in college baseball. I don't know what the NIL
It's
rules.
supposed to be Vandy. They say it's Vandy or Cal.
Vandy or Cal.
I can
Also,
throw. I can
6
throw.
foot 250 pounds
That's a lot of pounds for a high school kid.
coming in, not being in the United States of America, and eating food
That's
here.
a lot. That's a lot. Here's my thought too, and this is why I say this. Like, can you imagine a Jeff Samardzija coming into college, like big-time D1 college sports right now? Could you imagine a Kyler Murray coming into big-time college sports right now? A Kyle Parker,
Eric Decker,
all these guys like coming into college sports right now. Teams aren't gonna drop off of you for that. Like
Right.
the bigger teams they're gonna be all over you in a sense of like, we get him here, we got a shot. We'll figure it out one way or the other. We got a shot instead of being like, man, there's a lot going on. I think we're good.
Yep.
So it was crazy then, but I can only imagine it'd be nuts right now.
It'd be crazy. It'd be fun.
Was that Steve Spurrier recruiting you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why South Carolina was up there.
Steve made a trip to the B. Yeah.
And that's when South Carolina was
Yeah.
beating the brakes off everybody
You're
in
in
baseball.
the East all the time.
In baseball too.
Yeah. Wow. Probably would have been used a little bit more in the offense.
Next question.
There's no stories there.
Next question.
Oh, speaking of the next question, Jared, how do you feel? No. Here we go from the cat, Carl the cat. In his
Not Big Carl.
Big Carl. He probably saw you get some run at the B.
I ain't seen him in a minute, man. Where you been?
Is Alabama in football getting their groove back, or is it fool's gold?
I don't think they ever lost it. I mean, I think people got an idea of what Alabama has been for the last 5 or 6 years offensively, and they expected Alabama to fall off. And, like, at the end of the day, like, they're still super talented, and they have Nick Saban as their head coach. Like, they may look a little different. Like, yeah, I think they're going to be all right.
Dude,
Aight.
this is a great question. I'm not laughing at that Carl asked this question, but this is something that, like, people have been wanting to see this for so long, and the national narrative, like, literally it started with the national narrative. As soon as Georgia won that first championship, Nick's losing a step. Georgia wins another one.
And then Nick
Kirby's
Saban
the
takes
new
a
guy.
summer vacation.
Yeah, then he goes like,
Gets a new
they
house.
have
on
been
the
pushing
media.
this narrative for so long, hoping and wishing that just the top dog fell off the mountain. Look, the mountain is open right now. There is another team on top of it, but you're crazy if you think that's an avalanche and they fell off and they ain't
Here's the
nowhere
deal.
near.
The gap was this. The gap is a lot closer. Like,
And he knows it.
and yeah, of course.
And he expected that. Like, let's be honest. Like, he knew as soon as this whole portal and NIL thing opened up, all right, bro. Like, this is going to be the Wild Wild West now.
It can't be gray shirt and 4 stars anymore.
what
he knew.
he's done from 2008 till now is
Absurd.
Absurd.
Oh, it's crazy.
Absurd.
It's crazy.
So,
when
like,
when you think
he's
about
almost
this,
there for 20 years.
I just want you to think of it this way: when you've had a legendary coach in Paul Bear Bryant at that school, and you've had Nick come in, not only with what he did at LSU, but he is unquestioned the better coach and the best coach ever in the history of college football. That alone should tell you what he's done there and what he's still doing there.
No doubt.
So.
Yeah, if you think I mean,
it's just
the man
it's
didn't
not,
forget how to climb the mountain.
It's not
He built
fool's
the
gold.
mountain.
It's not fool's gold they're playing right now, and I think it was fool's gold that everybody thought that they were gonna just lose 3 games this year.
Well, it did feel
or 4
like
games.
It did feel like this was the weakest Alabama team you've seen. That's a testament to Saban.
Man,
Right.
it's so
That's
crazy.
fine.
Like,
That's fine.
I listened to Bobby Carpenter today on the Pat McAfee show say that the top 3 teams in the nation right now are Ohio State at 1, Michigan at 2, and Georgia at 3 after what they just did last week. I'm like, Bobby.
Well, he's a little biased.
I know, but that's my point. It's
Yeah.
like, Bobby, do you not remember what Michigan just did last year when they got an opportunity to do this? So, like, for you to drop a team that's won the last 2, that's beating the brakes off of teams right now, and put that team – I won't even – you can say whatever you want about Ohio State, but to put that team ahead of Georgia right now? Come on, man.
I would take it Georgia, and
What
honestly,
you
I think Michigan's better this year than last year.
They are,
for
but
sure.
we can't do that yet.
Right.
We just can't. Not until the other team says, hey, I'm going to lose and I can drop you off there.
And,
We just can't
they
do
haven't –
that.
Michigan in the first 4 games without Harbaugh, they weren't – they're good, but they weren't like – now they've gotten better. Now, look, J.J. McCarthy is a million times better than he was last year.
Yeah,
But-
of course. But you got to show
Listen,
me.
here's the deal. Carson Beck's getting better, too.
Just think of it this way. I want you to flip it. I want you to think of it this way.
Weirdo.
Yeah.
Think of
Brock
it this
Bowers is
way.
a monster.
Before Georgia ever really won it like that and Alabama was still undefeated, when did they ever get the nod to just go on top of Alabama?
Right.
Ever.
They had to beat him.
You had to beat them. So why all of a sudden is that happening over there? But I get it. Like I said, he is a Big Ten biased guy. But it's like, bro, y'all been pushing this narrative so hard for so long, and it's just crazy.
And I don't think Ohio State's they have proved a little bit more to me.
I need to see it.
Yeah.
I expect him to be there in the end, one of the 2 at least, for sure.
Well, that's what he's doing. He's
For sure. He's getting people to talk about it.
Yeah, of
And
course.
Big Ten Bob's building up Big Ten.
Yeah,
of course.
Because he won to Ohio State, Michigan 1-2 going
Well, it's the
into-
1 year. It's finally they have the SEC on the ropes, and hey, they're not going to get 2 in this year. Big Ten's going to probably get 2 in. Hopefully,
pushing the narrative.
Maybe the Pac-12 gets 2 in this year. I don't think so anymore. Maybe.
Last year, tough for the Pac-12 to be their last year. They got some talent.
They're all going to be going to different conferences.
Split them up. Can't get any TV money.
We got some. They're holding strong there. They're trying to build a whole new conference around those teams: Washington State, Oregon State,
Pac-2.
Pac-2.
What's going to happen when all
I guess Stanford and Cal haven't really made a decision yet, have they?
What's going to happen in the Pac West when all them those 22-year-old quarterbacks are no longer in college
They should
football?
call it the Pac Sun. Just do it.
Get Arizona State some run.
Call it the Pac Sun.
Like, what are they going to do then? So we'll
Got a
see.
couple from Fonz on Twitter. Which sounds better to y'all? I have an opinion on this. The thud or crack of a wood bat, or the ting of the older metal bats, or the new composite bats.
It's the wood bat.
1,000%.
Hey, listen, the thud sounds great, but it's also a much more accomplishing feeling when you're on the barrel with a wood bat as opposed to with the aluminum bat, right? Like you can get away with so much more. You can cheat. You can miss the barrel so much more, and outside looking in, you'll never know. But with the wood bat, you can't get away with that nonsense. Like if you ain't on the barrel, bro, it ain't traveling. And so the wood bat is a more accomplishing feeling, and I like the sound more, honestly.
I like the sound more too.
I like the sound.
It's blades versus player irons, like for golf. Like if you
Blades
play with
versus cavity backs.
cavity backs, like you can get away with a whole lot more with the cavity back. But when you hit a blade the way you're supposed to,
I probably should start using cavity backs. Problem is,
you don't have straight blades though.
not anymore.
Yeah, not me either.
I mean, they're more blade than cavity back. Though.
Yeah, but I mean, I used to take BP with a wooden bat just because I like to. You wanted to see kind of where you were. Like I wasn't concerned with where the ball went. I was concerned about where it was on the bat, and so I always would take BP with a
You know what's
wooden bat.
crazy? Remember, not Rafael Furcal, Julio Franco. Remember that name?
What's his stance look like?
So this one with the
Yeah.
he's pointing the bat here. So Julio Franco played till he was like 47, right?
I think he was 52.
Yeah. And so, but when he was coming up, he was a really good player. Obviously, he played, and so he had juice. He could hit it wherever he wanted. And there was one game where he was hitting BP, and guys were watching him in the stands, and everybody's like, hey, this guy puts on a show. And batting practice, I got to go watch him. So they're watching. They're not really paying attention, but he's hitting these, like, lazy line drives to right center. Like, not soft, but not this guy's supposed to put on a show. He's hitting line drives, and they're like, his bat looks slow. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why is this guy – what is going on? He uses this log of a bat. And then next round, he popped off the donut weight that he was hitting BP with. And the next round was every ball was in the third deck. It was like the most impressive thing ever. But it was like, my point is when you start doing it, you're just swap, swap, swap. And you're like, you can hear it around. And there's not enough people there in the dugout. And you can hear it echo. I mean, in the stadium, you can hear it echo. It was awesome. Awesome.
Jeff Lamont, he came up from LSU and then played with the Yankees. He came up with Josh Hamilton in the same time in the minor leagues. It was the same story where people were filing in, like, from the opposing team to watch him take BP. Like, you could hear it when we were changing. Like, who is that? Then it became, like, this guy.
If Hamilton doesn't go through his issue, he may be the best player.
Who's to say it's an issue?
He may be the best player in the history of the game. That's not a joke. If he doesn't take away 8 years of his career and, like, probably longer than that because of how it deteriorated his body, he probably could be going out as one of the best players in the history of the game. Maybe the best.
If you've ever been around ball long enough, like, I won't say it'll be the first one, but there is one person that's etched in your brain as to, oh shit, that's a different sound off a wood bat. I don't know what that is, but I've heard 100 people hit with wood. They never sounded like that. And there's people like that just stick around if you're around it long enough.
All time, maybe the best performance in not World Series, in home run derby history.
Oh, that was impressive.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even talking about the number of where he was hitting those balls in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm like, good God.
Place like
Unreal.
a touch.
Unreal.
Last one up from Fonz to wrap up. What is going on?
Oh no.
Oh, well, there is.
And look, throughout the course of the show, throw more in there.
Of course,
I mean,
we'll get to it when we can.
Yeah.
When y'all went into the minors to work your way up, did y'all have roommates or did you live solo, not counting a girlfriend or a wife? I believe you were both.
Well, no girlfriend or wife.
We was all on the Brock Purdy plan. Let's just be honest.
Was that?
We was all on the Brock Purdy plan. Let's
No
be
doubt.
honest.
I mean, I had roommates the whole time.
Baseball guys out of
I say the whole time. I had roommates up until I had made it to the big leagues. And then whenever I had gotten like sit down or back, I usually had my own spot. But other than that, it was
the few times
it was more fun with roommates.
But I say the few times I quote unquote had my own spot was like getting sent down and you were in the team hotel for X amount of time, and that's probably about it. But other than that, it was roommates.
That's it.
That's it.
And then I'll get to some more if they put them in the chat. But those are all the ones that we had on Twitter.
And look, if you had questions for Tommy, throw them in there. We'll try to get to as many as we can get to. He's not here yet. He said he's coming in hot, so he's on his way. He's a little late.
Get in great shape without working out?
Oof.
Wouldn't
Somebody
be me.
can figure that one out. That'd be
3 for 3.
It's like the 8th wonder of the world right there.
Yeah,
Good
great
luck figuring
shape.
that one out.
That's tough. I mean, everybody thinks the Ozempic shot apparently is a little skinny shot. It's
what I
apparently
need.
the secret sauce now. But it's not gonna get you in great shape. It's just gonna make you look, and then you're gonna be skinny fat.
I got some definitions.
You don't want that.
45.
You don't want to get
3
skinny
for
fat.
3 this week.
It's good. Are you going tomorrow?
Yeah, can't go on Fridays.
There you go.
There he is.
There you go.
Don't even have to unlock it for him?
Yeah, you have to unlock it. You have to unlock
Well,
it.
I thought he just bust in.
You might rip that thing open.
Did you see the UFC guy?
Yeah. Ngannou.
There he is. You're good.
There he
You're
is.
good. We got a loose show here. That's it.
Nothing but the energy over there. Look
You
at
like
him.
you like the new setup we got? We got him over there. You got your own spot. You can pull the mic up and get it wherever you want. That Ask Mikey and Mitch segment is brought to you by our friends at FCO Development. FCO is a civil construction company based out of Lafayette, Louisiana. They specialize in site drainage, site utilities, earthwork, site clearing, house pads, ponds, demo work. If any of those things sound like something you need, give them a call at 337-534-4675. That number is 337-534-4675. We are pumped to have you back on the show. This is going to be a regular occurrence.
Glad to be here.
You're gonna get the Moffitt method every week. For not gonna always be an hour and 20 minutes, but you're gonna get them for a little bit every week. The Moffitt method. We talked about it last week. Lloyd had a question.
Yeah.
He said, "Is there a way? Does the Moffitt method allow you to get in good shape without doing anything?" Is what he asked.
Somebody's gonna crack the code one day.
Sure.
Sign up now.
Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yes, that's what it does. Yeah. See what happens.
Impossible.
Impossible. The Moffitt method we talked about. We have a commercial cut. We're gonna keep adding to the commercial, making it better. But what the Moffitt method does is it's a program that you design for not just athletes, but for anybody.
Anyone.
Anyone who's
Moms,
trying.
dads, weekend warriors, junior high, high school, collegiate athletes, anyone.
Programs for teams, college, high school
Yes.
teams.
Teams, both high school, well, junior high, high school, college. Also, sport organizations, AAU basketball, any sport. I mean, we have 8-year-old baseball teams, all the way up to college baseball teams. So,
And if they want, it's an online program, right?
Yes.
You have an app. You have all these technological things. I didn't say that right.
Yeah.
That you can get. It's literally goes right to an app, shows you what you need, your program, and it updates as you continue to go.
Yes.
How do they get to that? Download the app.
Yeah. So the app, it's actually a free app. It's called Team Builder, but without your login and password, you can't do it. But so Team Builder is the largest third-party host for exercise in the country. They have over 150,000 different clients. So you don't pay anything for the app. We handle that. We take your login credentials. We set you up in a program. It's depending on the intricacies with your program, it's a matter of us just turning on like a light switch. And like you said, it's on your phone, so everywhere you go, the Moffitt method goes with you because you get it on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your computer. You can broadcast it to your television. And you can do it in your garage, in the living room, or outside on the back porch, or in a health club because it's right there on your phone. We have 350 instructional videos, so it's not just sets and reps. You know, it's we actually have videos that instruct you throughout the entire process.
I would have loved to have that when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I may look at it.
We
now.
might
I
get you fixed up
I may
right
get
now.
me in there. Give me a little Moffitt method. Do a little before
Making a
and
comeback,
after.
huh?
A
No.
little before and after in there, huh? Feel good. I enjoy it. I do that at 45. Maybe supplement that with a little Moffitt method.
All right, so I've seen the F45 app, you know, because Aaron works over there. So I've seen the program, and ours is very similar as far as, you know, it being on your phone. So it's a super easy, user-friendly program.
Yep. Everybody check it out. Moffitt Method. Team Builder's the app.
Yes,
There's a website.
MoffittMethod.fit.
There you go.
TheMoffittMethod.fit. For more information about it, you can email us at info@TheMoffittMethod.fit.
And we're going to get all that. We'll start putting that on the ticker.
We got the logo on the
We got
screen.
the logo on the screen already. It's
Oh my
great.
gosh, that is
We
awesome.
got
Fired
you
up.
covered.
Pumped. Fired
You know
up.
who's fired up? Some of these LSU fans are a little fired up, right? Because we talked about it was a tough game. We talked about it being a tough game. The offense was going to be good. Defense needed to make some plays. Last week when we had a conversation was, you know, hey, defense, you know, needed to be a little bit more physical. Maybe need to tackle, make some big plays. Defensive line with Pete Jenkins.
Yeah.
You felt like, hey, the technique and the alignment and all of those things would be better, which would make them better. Did you see that a little bit of an improvement?
Yeah,
on the defensive
so
line?
I saw guys striking, shooting their hands, getting off the ball on the snap. I saw some hustle plays. You know, we had a couple of big plays out of the defensive line in the game, and that's what you want. You want hustle plays because, you know, you're not always going to beat the guy, you know, on the snap or, you know, blitzes don't always work.
Right.
You know, that team
Well, that's what I
practices
said.
too.
The question was like, well, do you expect the defense to be more aggressive? Like, you know, and I'm like, well, just because you blitz doesn't mean you're more
Right.
aggressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you got to have hustle plays, man. You got to have those defensive ends and outside linebackers chasing the ball down from behind, making those plays. out there on the numbers, and I saw that. So that's the type of improvement that you want to see. And one good thing about our fan base here, they hold the coaching staff and the players accountable. And they don't mind voicing their opinions. And you could see just by the way our players came out and played early in the game, it wasn't nothing had to happen for them to get fired up. And that's what you want to see. You want to see the Tigers play like Tigers and come out of that place. And, Coach Saban used to say this, it's not the fans that make Tiger Stadium great, it's the players. Because without the players, it's just a coliseum filled with people.
Right.
So it's the players that make Death Valley what it is. It's not the fans. And so when the players come out and they're fired up, well, sorry. But without the players, it's just a big gathering of people, And you can sit around there. There's not many people that's going to sit around or hang out there all day long and then go sit in the stadium in the scorching heat or rain and to watch nothing.
Right.
Yeah, the band's only going to play so many songs. So without that team taking that field with some fire and knocking a few helmets off here and there, it's just another, another gathering of people. So that's what I saw.
Man, I'm so glad you just mentioned. So you mentioned Coach Saban. You mentioned Tigers playing like Tigers.
Yeah.
Man, I've been knowing you for a long time, and I've never gotten to ask you this question, but you've been around a ton of good football teams. You've seen across the sideline a ton of good football teams. And you've obviously been around a ton of good players. As you look across your career and the people you've been around and the teams you've been around, is there either one, two, or three things as a season starting or maybe going through the summer that you've seen and you could sit here and say, this team's got something, and I think this team's going to be special. Let's be clear, too. That doesn't necessarily mean you hold a trophy and win a national championship.
Right.
I think me and you would both agree that 2006 was a special team. We didn't win a championship.
Just got goosebumps.
We didn't win a championship that year, but that's a special team, right?
Yeah.
So is there any characteristics that you can point out that you've noticed?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is how they come back from the bowl game. That's got a lot to do with it. Whether you have a young team that gets their nose rubbed in the ground or you have an older team that gets a little embarrassed in the bowl game, that has a lot to do with it. It's tough if your team doesn't show up January 21st, 22nd, because that's normally when we started training. If your team doesn't show up then and got a little fire about them, it's going to be a long year. A lot of work to do.
So interesting. Who would have ever guessed this would be one of the things that we say, too?
Yeah. I mean, it would be tough, man. So that would be the first thing, okay? And then the biggest thing that I noticed throughout my career is when players hold each other accountable. And people will say that, leadership starts at the top and trickles down, but, it's tough to get a bunch of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old guys motivated if the critical mass of the team isn't. If your best players aren't motivated, then, it's tough. And so that would, that's kind of it, those two things right there, how they came back in January, and then when the players start holding each other accountable and saying, when you're in drills, like for instance, if when we were running, we'd say hands behind the line. Mm-hmm. And a good team, there would be guys that would, because
Toes behind the line or hands behind the line.
Yeah. Or feet behind. If Corey Webster told you to get your feet behind the line, you got your feet behind the line. If Craig Stelz or Jared Mitchell, but if it, because again, that goes back to players holding players accountable, because there isn't any coaches out on the field. We were all on the sideline. And so That's huge, man. And then when training camp starts, if you notice guys, your best players again, not wanting to be there or going through the motions and waiting until the first game, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Because you have all these freshmen that come in, they don't know, that's what they see, so then they're not going to follow along those lines.
And it perpetuates it.
Then it becomes a program-wide thing.
Yes. So here's the thing, and this was sometimes some of our teams fell victim to our own success because we had so many players get drafted. So if you're at and I'm going to use the quote, back in the old days before, guys left when they were juniors and stuff. So your seniors or your best players that were sophomores and juniors were your leaders. But when you start going through seasons of, 3, 4, 5 of your best players leaving as juniors, then you have sophomores that are having to become leaders. And they're not ready for that role. Right. Even your best players that when they were sophomores, they're still trying to figure it out.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a great question, and I could go on and on and on, man. Like when you see guys in spring ball fighting, like tearing each other's arms and legs off to try to get a first down in 9-on-7, you got a special team, man. You walk off the field and you're like, whoa.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the young guys, right?
Yeah.
Because you watch this team, right, or any team, right? This one I'm just talking about because that's what we're talking about here. We're here in Baton Rouge. And you bring in a really good recruiting class. And you bring in these freshmen, these high-profile freshmen, and everybody thinks that they need to see them right away. They need to get them on the field, do this. And it doesn't always work that way, right? What goes into the development of a freshman, right? Like, how do you know when a freshman is ready to come in? And two, how much does that development throughout the year happen, right? Because, people say, oh, this guy's a freshman in game 1, but by the time game 10, he ain't a freshman anymore, right? Like, how does that development progress throughout the course of the year?
Well, and this is a part of the new era. The early enrollees is that part of it is huge. If you can get a guy that enrolls in January and goes through the off-season program, goes through spring ball, then when summer training starts, that guy's his fitness and his strength and all of that is already going to be better than what someone who reports in June is going to be. So that's number one. The guys that show up in January, that plays a big role in whether or not that guy's going to be ready to contribute. Because there's just, a high school, and it's funny, we all know people that say, oh, if I was there, if I was a player, when I was a player. Hey, partner, it ain't like that. Hey, partner. This is the SEC, man.
How many times you heard that?
I mean, I just, and I have friends. We all have friends, whether they lined up in Alex Box or Dev Valley, they would wet themselves.
No doubt.
I mean,
no doubt.
You got no idea. And here's what I tell people. Great players make it look easy, and they make it look so easy that everyone thinks that they can do it, and it's just not that way.
Right.
The level of competition, and we were talking about the fans earlier. You take the fans out, there's very few people that walk the street that can go through the rigors of a collegiate baseball, football, basketball. Just the preparation alone would destroy you. So, number one is show up in January, and physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared. That's critical. The guys guys that come from great high school programs where they've been coached and told no, that's not how you're going to do it. You're going to do it this way. Those guys are going to get on the field a lot quicker because you can't freelance. You know, in the Southeastern Conference, it doesn't matter what sport it is. You can't freelance. You got to go out there, and because if you take one wrong step, then it's going to be a touchdown. That's just all the band's going to be playing no matter what. So it's, you know, we haven't had a lot of guys, you know, that were able to come in as freshmen. And the coaches would always ask me, you know, after the first couple of days of training, how's this guy look? How's this guy? And we've had guys that came in as freshmen that were game ready.
Patrick
you know?
Peterson?
Yeah, Pat. Yeah, so.
LeRon?
Yeah, so let me tell you a story about Patrick. So the first time that Patrick Peterson stood in front of me in the weight room, he was staring at me so intently that it made me feel uneasy. Did I say something to this guy in the warm-up that pissed him off? And that's the way it was every day. He would stand right in front of me, and he would stare at me and listen and hang on to every syllable of every word that I said. And then you have other guys that are looking around the room, and they might be giggling with this guy next to them or something like that. And Pat was never like that. When he showed up to Baton Rouge, it was a business trip.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He didn't have to wait until game day to get ready.
Yep.
He was ready from day one. And, you know, and Leonard was like that. And Derek Stingley was like that. And there's Kyle Williams, Andrew Whitworth. You know, there's been a bunch, man, that came through the program that were ready from Jump Street. And there's other guys that it takes them a little longer to figure it out, you know.
PQ, Patrick Queen took a little longer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so you had guys.
Yes, Deion Jones.
Deion Jones, senior, right?
Pat was one of those dudes where it was, you just know when somebody has been coached up and has done stuff at a different level than others. I remember the first time I saw him do ladder drills, and nobody knows, but we used to do ladder drills here by his choosing of with steel bars. Everywhere else you do.
I strained my damn groin because I got caught in it one time.
Everywhere else
Bullshit.
you do them, it's, you know, it's the little kick away ladder, right?
Yeah,
we do with steel bars. Bro, Pat used to go through these like drills, and I'm like, all right, bro, like no one just has feet that good. You know how to do this, which means that you've been doing stuff at a different level than pretty much everybody else has been doing.
Well, that comes from his house. I mean, his dad was the speed coach.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
And that's my next question. Like, so when you see a freshman, right, they come in, you know, some of those guys like that, you know, right? Then you have guys that aren't really ready, right? Maybe they have to get stronger physically. Maybe they don't understand concepts. Maybe they don't understand the playbook, whatever it may be. But then at some point in the year, some of those guys that weren't ready on game one, all of a sudden are ready on game 5 or 6, but they really haven't played a ton on the field. What makes that happen? Like, where does that change happen?
Yeah, a lot of times it's confidence. They don't even know that they can do it, or they don't think they can do it, you know. So really all of your guys, they're big fish in a little pond, you know, in high school. You know, whether you're single A, double A, triple A. I mean, when you're gifted genetically just better than the other guys, you show out. But they've never really been coached on the finer aspects of the game, or they've never played against anyone as good as they are.
Right.
So when you show up, and I told this story today on my podcast. So because my podcast guest, he was a walk-on at Purdue, and the first 2 times that he tried to walk on, they cut him. They wouldn't let him walk on. So he came out a third time. He didn't make the Purdue football team until his junior year. Ended up playing as a junior, but then was a starter as a senior and won 2 awards as a senior. Yeah, and had no offers coming out of high school. And so the first time I showed up as a college freshman, you know, this is when you had to put your quarters in the payphone. After a couple of weeks, I called home. I put all my quarters in the payphone I had, And I talked to my mom first. You know, she wants to know, are you eating good? Are they treating you good? Yeah, Ma, yeah. And then my dad gets on, and my dad said, how's it going? And I said, Dad, I might not ever play here. And he was like, what? I said, Dad, these guys are bigger than me. They're faster than me. They're stronger than me. And so then at the end of the season, like I didn't even, in fact, my dad got so, and I'm being nice right now. My dad said it a lot more vividly than what I just, communicated it. And so I would only call the house when I knew my dad wasn't going to be there because I didn't want him to punch me through the phone. So after the season, I show up home and my dad said, all right, son, how was it? I said, Dad, I think I might start next year. He's like, what? And he goes, I said, Dad, I figured it out. You know, guys, they get hurt. Guys flunk out. Guys get suspended. Guys quit. I said, I got a shot. And that's what happens. Yep. They figure it out. And the ones that don't have the confidence, you know, because they've been pushed along by mom and dad and their position coach and their uncle. They've been pushed along, and then you drop them down in the middle of campus, and there's 120 other guys that are just as motivated as you are. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for the guy to figure it out and realize I can do this. Yeah. And y'all seen it, you know?
No doubt. Y'all want for him, Jay?
So, coming back to this season, I think one thing that's kind of gotten lost in the fray a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and let's be honest, you being an XO-line guy, Brian Kelly coming in here saying the first thing he really wanted to fix was making sure that was always one of the strongest units on the team. But being an O-line guy, you kind of sign up for the faceless job, right?
Yeah.
The job that they've done to solidify this offensive unit over the last 3 weeks, I gotta imagine that only brings a huge smile to your face. Can you just talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, because, you know, for my entire career, I've been an O-line guy, you know. And it was, we got beat on guys, the big kid from West Monroe that went to Alabama,
Tackle. What's his name? I forget his name.
I don't know, but, we got beat on guys left and right, and then, we didn't recruit well. And, you gotta know what an offensive lineman looks like to recruit them, and sometimes or you got to be able to evaluate what a person's potential is going to be. You kind of got to,
Is that the hardest position you think to
I think so, yeah, because,
of course.
As an offensive line coach, I told our players, how many guys do you know that at the first day of, high school practice or junior high school practice, they say, I want to be an O-lineman. Nobody wants to be an offensive lineman. And I told our guys at Curtis, you're the garbage man of football, man. You got to, it's the last stop before the bus stop. Yep. And so, and it's really the only position on the field that you recruit that can only play one position. I mean, just think about it,
That's usually the last resort for quote-unquote big guys.
Yeah, for the big guys. So those guys are less athletic to a certain extent. The higher you get up, they become freaks. Yeah. But it's hard to evaluate players. It's hard to evaluate bad film against bad competition. If it's a bad league, I've been sitting in recruiting meetings before where the film was so bad and the players on the field so bad, it's hard to evaluate somebody. Right. But everybody else is recruiting him and offering him, so you got to offer him, especially if he's an in-state kid. So it's really good to see, and now Brad Davis gets a lot of credit for that too. He walked into a tough situation when he took the job here. He got the job in July, and it wasn't the beginning of July. It's kind of mid-July, and he's worked his tail off. And being an O-line guy, you got to love him, man. Watching him practice and work. So yeah, it's really good. And if you go back and when we played Notre Dame, when they beat us up front with the offensive line. Right. I mean, they just outblocked us. Right. And Another position that we struggled recruiting here were tight ends. And if you go back and look at his history at Notre Dame, he's had a roster full of tight ends, and he's putting a roster together here with tight ends. And, you know, the spread offense is good, but, man, when you get in tight quarters and you're on the goal line, you got to be able to put, you know, some men up front that's going to block.
Well, and then sometimes you do the tush push and the quarterback falls in the end zone full body, and the referee for some reason says not a touchdown.
Well,
Two times in a row.
2 times.
Yeah,
That's a whole other thing.
Thank you. Yeah. But, you know, you got to be able to line guys up on the line of scrimmage, and you got to push. And so, and I'm not saying he got this from me by any stretch of the imagination, but as an offensive lineman and as a defensive lineman, your number one goal should be to reestablish the line of scrimmage from the turn. You know, when the ball turns over, you got to strike, but you got to recruit guys that have that DNA and the psychological disposition that I'm going to take my helmet and my shoulder pads in my fist, and when that ball wiggles, I'm coming off the line of scrimmage and knocking your butt back. And that's. Some people can't do that. You know,
So
you
you
can't.
talked about Emory Jones last week too, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned him, and then he ended up becoming the SC lineman, offensive lineman of the week. He played his ass off. I was impressed by him. We talked about this, and people don't look at it as this, and I look at it this way because he could have easily gone the other. He got kicked in the face, right? He doesn't retaliate, doesn't do anything. The guy gets the personal foul penalty. Instead, now we go there, we get the first down on the goal line. You get the opportunity to go in. To me, you know, not retaliating, people are like, oh, he's soft, like he doesn't. Like, no, I think that's just, you know, understanding the situation, being disciplined enough not to do that.
That will cost you. That cost us the game against Alabama in Death Valley. We were fixing to score in the end zone. You know, there's some pushing, and Vidal Alexander pushes the guy. We get a 15-yarder.
I remember that.
You know,
Kick the
cost
field
us the
goal.
game. Yeah.
Like
costs us
that,
the
just
game.
little stuff, and people don't realize, like,
Yeah.
It takes a bigger person not to do something like that,
Right.
not to retaliate, than to do it.
So that's why I would always say you have to be mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared, you know, and the emotional part of football and baseball, golf, if you're on a green and you're putting for par, you know, that's tough.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just the guy 6'5", you know, 320 pounds that can vertical jump, you know, 40 inches, which would be a freak show. But
You love to get your hands on those.
I love that.
yeah, give me one of those.
Draw the Moffitt method.
Yeah, give me one of those. But yeah, you got to be emotionally mature like that. That takes a lot of that has to do with character too.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that goes to what you were talking about earlier when you said the preparation it takes to prepare yourself to play in a college season
right.
at a place like this.
Like, that
right?
stuff's
Like
gonna happen.
I can tell you right now, the stuff that he would put us through the summer, through preparing for camp, it got you to a place to where when you showed up on Saturday, you played with emotion, but you also knew how to dumb down that's how you made things look so easy, but could play with emotion in a sense. You get what I'm saying? Like the moment wasn't too big for you, but you knew exactly where you were, if that makes any sense.
Exactly. Yes. So you would, and we used to play games, you know, you got to create chaos because that's what it is. It's what you have to lay structure on top of chaos if you're going to coach at a high level. So, you know, there's nothing relaxing about Tiger Stadium or going to Auburn to play or going to Ole Miss. You know, it starts when you're pulling up to the stadium. You got 3-year-old kids flipping you birds and stuff, you know, throwing for sale signs at you and stuff. So as a coach, what we used to try to create chaos and watch people crumble. It would be like changing the radio station. That's all I had to do was to change the radio station, and you would see people crack.
Yeah, like in the weight room.
You'd see people crack. A song would come on, and somebody would go, you know, to run to change the song. And I was like, get over here, but coach, get over here, but coach. Like they crack, you know, about the least little thing.
Nobody noticed.
Do it again. Do it again would destroy people. Not That's not any good. Do it again. And they would crumble. So, we would create chaos and adversity, manufacture adversity.
Yeah.
And then you'd say, guys, one little thing and you crack. You can't, there's a whole process that you take them through to get them emotionally prepared for what happens in a game.
Going back to like the current state, right? Harold Perkins freak show. And he's a freak show, right? Fast, can run, do the whole deal, whatever you want. I think this past weekend you saw him make the next step in his evolution as a linebacker, right? Mm-hmm. They used to put him on the edge. He's not an edge guy in the NFL. He's too small to be an edge guy. Yeah. He's a backer, and you want him to go out there, but he can play in the nickel because he's fast enough to do it. And you saw him had the interception in the second quarter, I think it was. Was it second quarter or second half?
Second quarter.
It was right before the half.
Halftime, right? He drops underneath coverage. He makes the interception, catches it like he was a wide receiver with his hands, and like makes the biggest play that LSU needed at the time, right? That type of, I guess, that type of evolvement, right? He evolved into that guy. He's grown into that. He's learned what goes. How does that? What goes into that as a linebacker? The intricacies of now you just have to figure out where you need to be. You need to cover guys now. You probably never did that. What goes into that?
Well, the best part about that is you don't have to change personnel, or you don't have to change him out based on what the offense is doing. When you have a guy that can play 3 different positions, that makes it all the better for him. But a lot of it has to do with how he processes information and how he can get prepared week from week based on all the different offensive schemes, the different alignments, what his assignments are for 3 different positions, and all the blitzes and coverages and the motions.
I don't think people realize how much it is.
Oh, it's mind-boggling. And we've had players, and I would have friends that would say, why isn't so-and-so playing? He was such a great player in high school, and he can't get on the field. What's the coaches thinking about? And we've had players that, let's take defensive players, for example. If the offense broke the huddle and they went and lined up and never moved, and they ran the exact play that you had practiced from the right hash, in the red zone, then that guy's going to make a play and look like an All-American. But when the offense, when they send in, so, you have all, when you see certain, because you scout, so when you see certain jersey numbers go on the field, there's a guy up top and he calls out a personnel group, so the defensive coaches counter that with a personnel group, and you're thinking that you're sending the right guy on the field or whatever. They line up in the formation that you think they're going to line up in, and then they start moving around. The play that you had called in some defenders, like the what do you call it? The
wheels turning? Yeah,
the wheels start turning, and then the guy breaks off on an option route, and the guy's standing there flat-footed, and the other team's band's playing. And so when you have somebody like Harold, it just comes from watching film and watching film and watching film and watching film, and then being able to digest all that information and apply it in the game, and being centered, being where his feet are and not getting caught up. A lot of times, the guys that you see celebrate a lot in games are the guys that don't have a lot of responsibility or pressure. Those guys that, they make a big play and they get up and they jog back to the huddle. They got a lot going on because they're already
themselves.
They're thinking about the great players think about the next play as soon as the last play was over. Mm-hmm. It's the next play. And that's critical at this level of football, and that's obviously what Harold is doing now.
I would say it's so funny you bring that up. That's such a great point. There is I think one of the biggest jumps from high school to college, and then obviously the model of it in pro ball is kind of the same in the NFL. But people don't understand, like when you play like special teams, the way special teams is played in high school to the way it's played in college is completely different. But unless it's a starter that's on special teams, a lot of the time special teams are filled with that guy you just talked about, who was unbelievably good in high school, was an absolute freak show physically, but for whatever reason, he can't figure out how to move to motions and different routes, and he can't figure out how to do the defensive part. But we can't really just waste all of that talent. So, like, those guys are filled on special teams. Yeah. So you wonder why, like, man, this guy's so good. He makes his play on special teams. He was so good in high school. Why can't he get on the defense? Yeah. Why can't he get on the –
because of the process.
And the process is still too fast for him for the rest of it.
And it happens in nanoseconds. In fact, it's an entire industry in sports now.
Right.
With visual acuity and acuity, I think is a –
So I
you know what I'm trying to say.
I know some words.
You know what I'm trying to say.
I can't even help you. I don't know.
But it's your processing speed, how well you see, and so
Acumen.
Yeah, say it again.
Acumen.
Acumen. Yeah, that's a college word. Right?
Now, listen, he's got more vocabulary words than you know.
He's an early reader.
So
Harrison like me.
Yeah, and it all has to do with processing speed and. All right, so and I think I mentioned S2 cognition last week. So what that test measures is, because when people make decisions, and this is decisions sitting at a red light. So I learned this from S2. How many times have you been sitting at a red light and the car beside you moves and you take your foot off the brake? That's called impulse control. Mm-hmm. Okay, you might be sitting in the turning lane because Jill will go, Tommy, what are you doing?
My wife does too.
Yeah, so the other car may be sitting in the right-hand lane and it turns right on a red, or you're sitting in the turning lane, your light is red and the light beside you is green. But impulse control is when the automobile beside you moves and then you take your foot off the brake. So people make decisions based on two principles, and it is speed and accuracy. So great players are able to make quick decisions accurately, and then sometimes poor players, what might be thought of being a poor player, they either make wrong decisions quickly, which is a bad recipe, and then there are others who value accuracy over speed. So they're slow decision makers because they don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, right.
And those type of guys are just as bad for you, especially if they're in a skilled position, than a guy who values speed over accuracy. And that's what S2 does. It measures your decision-making process.
Is there a way to train that?
Yes, there is ways to train it. And what you have to do is take the data to the field. And there's a lot of different areas. So you can be like, so when we first started doing the S2 tests, I would look and the score would be a 64. And, for mathematical standards, if I made a 64 in algebra, I was failing the class, okay?
Unless you're in college.
Yeah.
D.
Yeah.
Pass.
Yeah, D for a diploma. But based on and so that would be your overall S2 score, but based on the position that you play, sometimes some of those areas where you might score poorly in isn't that valuable for the position that you play. So you could score 64, but be high in certain areas that are suitable for the position that you play on the game, whereas others that you're not. If you're low in the areas that would affect your play at your position, then you take those skills and you go to practice, and what you do is you set up circuits where you put people in buckets. So you would have 4 or 5 guys over here doing this, because there are similarities among athletes, and you have 4 or 5 or 6 guys in a bucket here, 4 or 5, 6 guys in a bucket here, and then you practice those skills, and you might do a 5-minute period once or twice a week to improve upon that, and especially during spring ball, training camp, and here's something I used to like about Dave Aranda. during special teams practices, if you were, especially the coordinators, they weren't always involved, especially if you have a special teams coordinator like we did. Your coordinators weren't involved in special teams. Your assistant coaches were. So Dave was always free. So Dave would always take the linebackers that were not on teams, and he would sit over there and set up a little bitty drill when most guys would be sitting around, taking a break and resting. Dave would have the linebackers over there between the two fields, because you'd have special teams over here. Then the linemen would be down in the end zone doing some stuff, because those guys, unless you're going extra point or field goal, the linemen, they're not involved in that. So Dave would always take whatever linebackers and maybe a nickel or something, and he would go over there in the apron between the two practice fields. He would set up a drill for his linebackers, and it'd just be a walkthrough thing, just play recognition and stuff like that we're talking about. But I'll give you a scenario about S2. We had, when it first came out, because we were the first school, they did and I told you, I coached the guy that developed this product. So they didn't have a lot of collegiate baseball test runs. So I grabbed a player out of the weight room one day, had him take the baseball module for the test. And he scored really well on it. And not going to give you his name or anything, but he scored really well on it. But they said there are certain things that he's going to have weaknesses on. And so he was an infielder, and it was being able to what do they call it? Decision making, accuracy in a chaotic, or decision making in a chaotic situation. For instance, if you had runners on first and second, there were 2 outs, you have a left-handed hitter, and the ball was hit to this guy. You would want, how y'all have signals in the dugout. Mm-hmm. You would want to have somebody would signal in the infield versus calling a timeout and going to the mound and discussing it. That guy would just need a signal that if, and he would look over there, he would already know to look over there, or somebody had to whistle. So he looked over there. The infield coach would give him a signal that would tell him if the ball is hit to the third or ball's hit to second or shortstop, you make sure you cover this base. And it's just little simple stuff like that. Like
situational
PFP
awareness.
type stuff.
Yeah.
Huh?
Situational awareness.
Yes. Yeah. And with chaos, if there's
Tactical.
no runner, if there's no runners on, that's easy.
Yeah.
If there's one runner on, that's easy. Ball goes to second base, he's out. But if there's 2 runners on, let's say a guy's on first and third or first and second, and the ball's hit somewhere to his offside, it's just
the runner on first is moving to second. Now you can't get the double play, and the guy from third is going home, but you also don't know if you can get him. Can you get the guy at first?
Yeah. So you said it a lot better than me, because I'm not a baseball guy. And that's the stuff when you're doing PFPs, you set that scenario up just for that player.
Right.
I'm taking. We have to get a little S2 test amongst these
We
three.
should.
See where we rank.
Me? Oh,
No, I'm in here.
He wants a part of it.
yeah.
He's
We can
as
do
you're
that for.
saying
I
it, I
can
can
set
see
that
his eyes like he's like starting to smile. Like
Well, he thinks he's going to beat us in this, and that's why
doubt.
he's all about
I
it.
can set that up.
Let's do it.
we should do it.
A great test taker.
It is great. I mean, I've never done it. I've done the stuff where you have to reactionary stuff, but I've never done like the whole.
Did you ever take it?
I have not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so
This
it
is
was on a
relative-
computer.
It's relatively new, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very new. It's very, well, when I say very new, it's probably at least 6 or 7 years old.
Because I started to hear about it probably either 2 years ago or last year with the NFL draft. It got very popular.
So, like, for instance, like Jalen Mills scored very high on it.
That's why he's still in the league.
And so, still in the league. And so Deion Jones scored very high. In fact, so Brandon would call me after the games and say, why didn't y'all play this guy? He's got better test scores than this guy. Y'all, so he could tell by what was going on in the field that we had players that mentally were better than what we were doing, because he could see all that stuff, But it took a while for it to catch on. It really did. It took a while. In fact, someone in baseball told a director of college scouting of a professional football team about the test, and he mentioned LSU and me and Jack. So when they came to, because the scouts come in and out, in and out, in and out, he shows up to campus and starts asking us about it. And so we had Brandon come down for our pro day, and that's when they hooked up. So the Cowboys were the first team to ever utilize it.
Wow.
And now everybody does it now.
That's crazy.
Jerry Jones on the forefront.
Jerry Jones
Yeah.
in the forefront of it all.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah. Game, like football itself, talk about cognition, talking about, training for those types of things. Football in itself, it's a game of adjustments.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to game plan for a team. You have to game plan for, they do something different. For instance, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin have a great offense. They run the ball. They're real balanced, but they spread it out. They throw it. But they also try to run it a little bit more than you would expect. Mm-hmm. Missouri threw the ball around. They had a really good offense, electric receivers. You go fast forward to this weekend, you play Auburn. Hugh Freeze, known for an offensive guy, known for but the personnel he's got, they run the ball twice as much as they pass. But they run for almost a 5 yards a carry. What goes into that as far as game planning for an opposing team, especially week to week? And then, I guess part of the question is, baseball-wise, if you're a pitcher, hey, this is what I'm good at pitching, but this is what he's bad at hitting.
Right.
Do I pitch to his weaknesses or do I pitch to my strengths?
Right.
Right? So how does that factor into the game planning?
So first, you're going to see different personnel. So I remember we were playing somebody, and they threw the ball all the time, and one of our best players on defense didn't play a lot at linebacker. That's because he wasn't a great cover guy, So you're going to see different personnel. You're going to see bigger guys up front. You're going to see some, different personnel at linebacker. Number one, because, they're going to take a pounding up front, So you'll see different personnel groups. And then you just got to talk, there's going to be talk all week about being physical, about not giving up big plays, about getting turnovers, stripping the ball, because there's, they say when you throw the ball a lot, the band is going to be playing on it on every, the band could play on every down, whether you're scoring a touchdown or the team gets a pick and scores. So it's a little different. When there's a ground game and the game's going to be slower, you're going to have to make your breaks. You're going to have to create turnovers, and your offense isn't going to be on the field as much either because those running teams eat up that clock. And a lot of times, that's as good a defense as putting 11 guys on the field.
LSU ran the ball a little bit more. Maybe that was their way of keeping
them off the field. That's huge. And so you're going to have to be more efficient on offense and make your plays when you can. And then you're going to have to get off the field on defense, man. You got to strip the ball out. You got to have takeaways. You got to create turnovers. And then, you hope that your kicking game is good. Mm-hmm. You got to rely on the kicking game and return a punt if you get an opportunity to return a punt and play that game, that field position game.
Does the training change at all on your side?
Well, no. Well, I mean, it just depends. So I was, who the guys are you're going to play, and I'll give you a scenario. So when the year in 2011 when we opened up with Oregon, okay, that was basketball on grass, and so. During the month of May, I guess it was in the month of May, Coach Miles called me in and he said, I want you to research everything you can on conditioning because I want to be the most well-conditioned team in America. And because of Oregon, they wear people out, they wear people down. And I want you to be ready for that. So, so we met as a staff, and Paul Jackson was on my staff, who's a great mind. We had some great assistants. So we sat down, and I assigned everybody on a staff a project to do. We looked at conditioning was going to be one of them. We were going to look at nutrition, supplements was going to be another one. And then my job was to call everybody that played Oregon, and I asked them what they did differently in preparation for Oregon. And so the number one thing is they went no huddle. Here's the strength coach. He goes, yeah, I'll tell you what we did. We practiced no huddle, and we wore our team out. We did extra conditioning. We ran every day. We went no huddle every day. We went tempo, and we went into the game. We were exhausted, and we got our butts kicked. I was like, well, that's easy to prepare for, So not doing that.
We're not going to put that into the plan.
I'm telling you, honestly, that was the answer. Everyone that I talked to said we conditioned every day and we ran no huddle every day. And so their teams went into the game fatigued. So when I met with Coach Miles, I said, Coach, we're not going to do anything different. They're smaller than we are. And so all we have to do is be in as good a shape as they are. And then when they start getting tired, we have greater mass, and we're going to push them up and down the field. So we don't have to do anything extra. What you do have to do is, back then nobody really was doing tempo like they were. Right. So you had to prepare tactically for that. I said, Coach, we need to practice it and make sure that we're subbing in and out and doing stuff like that. But I said, all we have to do is withstand their first couple of drives, and then we'll be fine. And sure enough, Spencer Ware and Michael Ford, those guys are still scoring touchdowns right now.
Matthew.
They haven't stopped us yet. And so I was never, as a strength coach, one, and that was a big lesson for me. I was never one to change what we did necessarily the week of the game. That's to me is a knee-jerk reaction, and it's too late. Too little, too late. So, and I was never one to back off on preparation in the weight room for a big game either, because then you're telling the players, oh, this is a big game. And I never wanted to do that. Right. I truly, and he can vouch for me, I went into every game thinking that we were going to maul every team that we played. That was my goal. My goal was to never roll out there and get a moral victory.
That wasn't his week by week goal. He's lying. That was his goal as soon as you showed up in the summer. Yeah. And that was the message that you got day to day through every exercise, through every conditioning. That was what we were doing it for, to make sure when it came game time, you're not going to get pushed around. That's what won't happen.
And our job was to maul them like a bear, maul them. And so if you back off before a big game, you're letting your team know that this is a big game. And I was never one to. Now, when we played Ole Miss, I would get ugly about. There's certain teams.
You're only human.
Yeah, that I would get ugly about. Okay, but you try to maintain some sense of normalcy, right, no matter who you play, because that's why you struggle against teams that you're supposed to beat. And and here's what I always felt like got coaches in trouble, is when you don't beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. Everybody knows that there's certain teams on your schedule that everyone says, "Ooh, that's good. That's a tough one right there." But then there's those other games where you put check marks on them. Everybody does. Your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your position coach. You can't do that. You have to prepare for every game. It doesn't matter who you're playing, just like you would prepare for the defending national champions. because that's when you play bad.
Yeah.
That's when you lose to the teams that you're supposed to beat. And so I tried to be the same no matter who we were playing.
So I mean, you bring that up, it makes me think of Georgia versus Kentucky this past week, right? Ooh. That was supposed to be man-to-man. Yeah. Kentucky's about to announce themselves to the world, and Georgia just dominated, right? Yeah. It brings me back to, like, understanding what this level of football and on up is, which is, like, it's an up-front game. And those guys up front really, really, really matter the most. But outside of ball, I don't think people – or outside of guys that have played the game or really, really, really been around the game, I don't think people understand outside of that front seven and really more so in college, really the lines, the gap in ability and talent of those other guys is so by far the smallest in all of like major sports. When it comes to baseball, when it comes to basketball, the talent you see in linebackers and or running backs and or cornerbacks and or receivers and across the board, big school, small school, it is such a small gap. And I want somebody like you to be able to kind of explain something like that.
Yeah, and it has to do with genetics, you know, and like as a strength coach, the last thing that we're capable of doing is changing someone's DNA. You're not going to do it.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
I mean, you can, you know, you give a like,
legally at least.
Like yeah.
Well, legally at least.
Somebody's probably out there trying to do it or doing it successfully. But you know, it was like the 6'5", 330-pound lineman that I said jumped 42 inches. You know, there's offensive guards and defensive tackles now that are running 4.8s.
Yeah.
And you know, 330-pound men running 4.8s at the combine.
Like that dude was a defensive tackle for Georgia last year,
Carter.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Carter.
No, Carter, and then the one before him, the monster.
Yeah.
He was the first
Davis.
round.
Jordan Davis.
Jordan
Yeah.
Davis. That
And
guy.
then their flexibility
Yeah.
is just out of this world. And again, those big guys, and you know, Coach Saban again would always say you got to recruit speed and size, and that's never more apparent than at the offensive line position. And D line. You know, that's like, for instance, Kyle Williams, you know, and I think Kyle played 12 or 13 years in the NFL. And like, you know,
Great
and
golfer, by the way.
do what?
Unbelievable golfer.
Oh, yes, because of his athletic ability.
Yes.
He was a great baseball player too, you know. And so he was a tremendous athlete, and just as good as an athlete as your slot receiver or your strong side corner. But he's just a bigger version of it. Yep. And you know, Kyle would grab you by the wrist and squeeze you, and like he could crush your wrist if he wanted to. You know.
Yeah.
And you'd say, "Hey, that hurts."
Calm down, bro.
Dude,
Stop.
chill out.
No more.
You know? we had a linebacker at Miami, Chris Campbell, and the first time he shook my hand, like I grabbed him by the wrist and pulled my hand out. Like he was so strong physically, and that's not natural. Right. So you take guys that are you know, at the 120th percentile in height and weight, and they can overhead squat with a bar and their back is perfectly straight, and they can, you know, do the splits and put their hands flat on the ground and run 4.8 in the 40 and vertical jump, you know, 36 inches, and bench press 225 34 times, you know? Like I used to get crushed by our bench press at the combine. We never did more than, we would do 10 reps on your warm-up set, and that would be it, because we're training for strength and power. Yeah. In fact, honestly, I have a guy that he's a sports scientist in the NFL. He swears that the grip test is a better measurement of a NFL football player's strength than the 225. It's more accurate and more telling than the 225-pound bench press. But you take a guy that can bench press 225, 35 times. I mean, we've had guys show up as freshmen in high school bench press it like that. And then we've gotten other linemen that bench press 185. I mean, 185. I mean,
Well, you got long arms. I mean,
yeah,
that's a lot of-
exactly.
you got
There's a
long arms.
lot involved, and he's never lifted weights. We got work to do. Because if you don't bench press it at least 20 times, I'm going to get crushed.
The LaRon Landry had to kill you at the
Get my
combine when he
ass
got
fired.
I
Yeah,
love
can't
what you're
get
doing with
that
this
up
grip
there.
thing, but you gonna get me crushed.
LaRon getting no rep 25 times.
Help me, help you.
Yeah. But so there's it starts with their DNA, man. And they're just like Jared said, there's just such a difference. All right, so I'm not going I hate mentioning names, but we were in the weight room one day and we had a group of linemen. I'm going to be as generic as I possibly be. We had a group of linemen working out, and there's this lineman, and the lineman coach was in the weight room at the time. And this one particular lineman, he was a legit 500-pound bench presser, okay? Legit. And
trying to
he's
figure out who it is.
Oh, of course.
No,
I've
he
seen a
was
Tom
just
frame.
sitting there repping it out, okay? And then the offensive line coach has got a freshman offensive. Ooh, dang, gummit.
Keep giving me clues.
All right, at least I narrowed
Cut
it
out
down.
half the ball.
So this offensive lineman, now I've been here, I was here a long time, but he brings his freshman over, and he was knock-kneed, you
I
know?
get that. Me too.
And he said, Coach, and I told him when we were recruiting him, and, you know, in a couple of years, he's going to be like this guy. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's good, that's good. And then the guy turns around and walks off, and the coach looked at me and says, Coach, you basically, you know.
Neutered him.
Yeah. And I was like, that guy, he's never going to play. I did, honest. I said, I can't. Like, he will never play here.
It's just genetics.
Yeah, this guy, when he was conceived, his DNA is far superior than this guy's. Like, it's not even close.
Right.
And he goes, I can't believe you're saying that. And I said, Coach, and you know, this was quiet. Nobody could hear me say this, but I said, that's why they used to give football players steroids. And I'm being honest. And that's, you know, I told y'all last week I take truth serum every day. I'm not going to, you know,
bullshit.
blow smoke up this guy's butt and tell him something else. Now, I didn't tell that player that.
Right.
I treated that player every day like, you know, I never cut corners on anybody. But that guy never played here. He never played. Never, ever, 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 ever played. And we just missed on the guy.
Right.
You know,
That happens.
That happens.
So you get 85 of those things, 85 scholarships. You can miss on a couple of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just part of it.
And so, you know, sometimes you miss, sometimes you don't. And then you have other guys like the guy on my podcast today. This guy became a starter in college, and he didn't have a single offer out of high school. Well, so you said D. Lou. Is that who you said? Did you say D. Lou a minute ago when I was talking about the 500-pound bench presser?
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought you said D. Lou. Because, you know, D. Lou didn't, I don't think D. Lou had but like one offer out of high school. That's why he went to junior college. And then he came here. I mean, you know, he's one of the best offensive linemen we've ever had, just mauled people.
Yep. I mean, I can talk to you all day about
Yeah.
this. Now, obviously, we're winding down,
some
so I'm not going to
names.
keep you before I let you go, right? Obviously, we talked football. We're going to
Yeah.
do this every week,
Yeah.
right? You've
I'm signed up, man. I'm
signed
all
up,
in.
so I was going to make down. So every Monday,
Mahtook method.
every Monday it's the Moffitt Mondays. Moffitt method, Moffitt Mondays.
Yeah.
Every Monday is 6:15. You're going to be
Yes.
on here. We're going to break down football. We're not going to be very critical, but we're going to see what we talk about just
Yeah.
in football as a general. Talk about strength training. Talk about
What
the
you
stuff
see.
that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Right. So before I let you go, all right, everyone in Baton Rouge, everybody wants to talk about LSU. LSU's playing Auburn at home. Right? I'm not going to ask for a prediction, nothing like
Yeah.
that.
My favorite game.
You love Auburn. You love this
Favorite game.
Why is that?
Because you know what you're always going to get, man.
Yeah.
Like always.
Literally always.
Yeah. It's going to be, and now in 2020, they put it on us in 2020. But if you go back and look at the score, it's 17-14, 13-11, 21-20.
Even 19. Look at 19. That was the only game that we didn't blow anybody
I know.
out.
Well, no, Ole Miss. We almost got beat by Ole Miss now. And 2019. Yeah, they had the quarterback.
John Reese Plumlee came in and had himself a day.
Yeah.
He like
But
300 yards rushing.
LSU
now look,
took their starters
now,
out.
hey,
It became, hey,
quarterback-
get your cleats back on.
Hey, you talking about puckering up now. That was a tough one. But with Auburn, and Auburn was a place, first of all, you got to respect them, all right, because they're Auburn. But what was neat is I always had friends that coached for them while we were coaching them. Their strength coach, well, in fact, now, their head strength coach and one of the assistants, Dominic Studzinski and Devassie Jones. Devassie is actually from Baton Rouge.
Devassie, what a great name.
Yeah, Devassie Jones, their strength coach. So their strength staff have two of our former interns on their strength staff. But I always knew, whether it was Rodney Garner, who played there, Stacey Searles, Will Muschamp, who was a GA there. There's always been a bunch of guys that I knew on the staff. Kevin Yoxel was their longtime strength coach, who was a good friend of mine. So you were competing. I always like competing against your friends.
Right.
That was always fun. But then you always knew that their crowd was going to be into it. It's a great place. And I don't think they get the credit that they deserve, because it's a great place. And when they score, man, that place goes nuts.
Definitely one of the more fun places
They
to
also
play.
have
Yeah,
17
awesome,
mascots.
awesome.
So I don't know. They're Plainsmen.
Yeah,
they're
Plainsman, War Eagle, and Tigers. Yeah. Now, I used to give them a little business about that. But, what I always liked there, too, they were afternoon games, so you start, when it's daylight and the sun goes down. Great atmosphere. And you never know what's going to happen in the game.
Yep.
So big contest this week, man. And I can't wait.
As
I
far
can't
as
wait.
what you saw last week, the next progression, right, as a defense, what would you like the one thing you would want to take from this game? Hey, next progression. You saw the defense line play better. What do you want to see as the next step? Say, okay, now they're really starting to figure it out.
Well, consistency.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is just consistency, hustle plays, create turnovers. You got to have, in a game like this, with them running the ball, you got to create turnovers. You got to strip it and rip it and punch it out any way you can. And you got to score when you're on offense, man.
Yep.
You got to so one of General Nealon's, so when you're at Tennessee, they had these game maxims. He was a general in the Army, so he had all these maxims that you had to talk about. And one was, and we would always say these before the game, you got to make your own breaks in the game, and when one comes your way, you have to score. And that's the way it is against a team like Auburn. You got to make your breaks. And then when you get one, you got to capitalize on it and score. And just consistency. Make those plays and just keep doing it, keep doing it, and keep doing it, and be consistent in how you play the game. And don't worry about what happens, because you're going to have negative plays, and they're going to, they coach and recruit and lift weights and practice. They're going to make big plays, and you just got to be able, to bounce back. If you get knocked down 3 times, get up 4.
Yep. No doubt. It's gonna be fun. Night game here.
Yeah.
Great. Weather's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Weather's gonna be great. Are you good? Do you go to the games? Or do you watch them at home?
All right. So I tell you what, man. This is where it gets emotional. I got emotional. I don't know if y'all could tell, but I got emotional there for a second. There's nothing that will ever replace the experience, we talked about this last week, than being on the sidelines of a collegiate football game or baseball. It doesn't
Yeah, anything, right.
And I sat in the stands at Ole Miss last year, and my whole family sat. I'd never done it, ever. And I can actually count on one hand the number of football games, college football games, that I've been to where I sat in the stands.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because I've always been in the game.
Yeah.
I've always had a game. And then when I coached at John Curtis, so 3 of the games, I came to 3 games at Tiger Stadium. In the 6 years I coached at John Curtis, I came to 3 games. I've been to 1 Tennessee Tech game, and I went to see my first year here. I went to see Miami and Florida play in the Sugar Bowl when Miami beat them. So those are the 5 college football games that I've been to my entire life. I know which games those are. So, and then I went to Ole Miss, and I looked at my family after about the first 5 minutes of the game and said, I can't do this. I can't do it. Yeah. And you know, every time, and there was a fan that every time Ole Miss made a play, the guy would say, put Harold Perkins in. And I would look. I'm like, Harold's in the game.
That's what you're going to deal with, Coach. I mean,
I'm so happy you said that. Because I wasn't even on the sidelines. I hear stuff, I'm like, are you watching?
Harold can't make every tackle.
there's not 11 of them.
No.
I told y'all after he left last week, I said, for anyone that's listening, if you're nostalgic about watching older LSU football games, I love that. This message is for you. When you go watch these, please find Tommy Moffitt on the sideline. He is the epitome of literally breathing you. If you needed life, which he didn't need much of it, but if you needed life, just go find him and go talk to him during the game. And he'd take you from wherever you were to 120 every single time.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't surprise me one bit at all because like it was different for him, and that, like watching him on the sideline or being around him on the sideline is a legit treat, man. It really was.
Yeah. So the only way I'll go to a game is if I'm sitting in a suite. I can't do it any other way. Now, and I did. So for the Tennessee game, I sat in a suite.
Oh, the one got beat.
Yeah.
You got to leave early for that one, too.
No, I stayed for the whole thing.
Oh,
no, I'll never leave early.
See, I'm with
I
you.
didn't leave the Ole Miss game early. I wanted to, but we stayed until the
Schadenfreude.
end. But you know what's cool about you eat ice cream the whole game.
It's great. The suite, that's why the suite's great. You can walk in, you can eat some food.
Yeah,
you can hang out.
ice cream, man.
Ice cream's out there.
Jill came back because she left. I was watching the game. She came back with a bowl of ice cream. I said, "Where'd you get that ice cream?" She goes, "Tommy, they got
it for days.
I was like, "What?" I went back. I came back with a big bowl of ice cream.
He came back with the whole thing.
Yeah. I'll watch it at home.
Yeah.
I am going to the Army game. I think
That's
would
gonna be cool.
You
Yeah,
know,
me too.
I'm a Patriot, and so I am going to the Army game just to see the flyover. So that's the thing the one thing I hated about coaching, because I love airplanes, especially military planes. So I knew. So Louis Bourgeois, our equipment manager, would always tell me before the game what the flyover is going to be.
Great guy.
Yeah, great guy. Shout out.
Absolute
Big
dog.
Lou.
Best.
Great
Yeah.
guy.
Shout out Big Lou. So I'd be sitting in the stadium. You could hear, we'd be in the ready room, and you would hear, whoa. And I was, oh, God, I want to go see that. But so I'm going to the Army game to see the flyover, and that's the only game that I'll make this year unless somebody invites me to sit in the suite.
Look at me. Yeah. I'm trying to get your son's sweet tickets to the Florida game.
Yeah,
So maybe
well,
I'll just get an extra one so you can go there with us.
that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
he probably needs it worse than I do.
He can get his own sweet tickets. He can figure out a way to get up there.
Man's rubbing elbows.
I'm looking forward to this every week. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be
This is
fun.
gonna be
I'm
a good
excited
time.
about it. Yeah.
The Moffitt Method fit.
What else would it be?
The Moffitt Method.fit. Go look it up. Get all the information about what it's about, the app that you need to download, and we're going to talk about it every week. We have commercials we've been playing. You're going to hear a lot about it. We appreciate you, as
Thank you very
always,
much,
coming
guys.
on here.
Thank
this
you
is
very
great.
much. Always
Appreciate
a pleasure.
you.
Looking
Yep.
forward to
Looking
it.
forward to next Monday. We'll
Yeah.
talk it through.
Thanks for
a
doing
lot.
the Moffitt method. They didn't
Man,
think
we're
I
going to
could
go
make
through our
it through a
segments, too,
week.
so you can just, whenever you're ready to go, you can go. We're just going to go through our segments. Appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm putting myself through a week of the Moffitt method.
You're not going to. You
wrong.
won't last, Coach. He has no shot.
2 weeks. That's all I gave
He's
you.
got no shot.
So, all right, being it's my profession, people would always, I'd get on the elevator at some place, I'd be sitting in a restaurant,
is he
go to the
not
bathroom,
playing?
and somebody would say, "Hey, Coach, I need to start working out. Can you do anything for me?" And I'd say, "Woo, we should have started a long time ago."
Should have started a long time
Oh,
ago.
whatever. Look at that.
How long? Hey, how much time you got? No.
Hey, Coach. See you next week. See you next week. Listen, He's the only guy I'm okay with going 10 minutes over this thing. He's awesome.
Unbelievable.
He's awesome. I mean, I didn't think we were going to go an hour 20 and an hour 20.
He's got so much knowledge, too, man.
So much. And look, I think people forget that he was a football player.
Yeah.
And he's not just a strength coach. Like, he's a football guy.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. You get a lot of insight on, like, why some stuff happens. And we talk about a lot on the show, right? What you see on the field and the results you see one way or the other, it's not just about what you see. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes to make it happen, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing, you know, and he has a lot of insight into that. There's a lot of intangible stuff that makes you a better player. So I was waiting for you to ask some questions. You just are you off your medicine today?
Lloyd's still intimidated by him right now.
No, I'm feeling him out. I don't want to scare him away. Once he becomes a regular, then he's
great. He started loosening up. I think as he gets on here, it'll be a lot.
And I figured out who he was talking about.
Who was it?
He slipped. I didn't mention Damian Lewis. He did. He was working out, and it was
Oh,
Cardell.
you think that was him with a?
And it was him pushing weight, and Cardell Thomas was the one that was watching.
You think?
Yeah, he's not need. Hate to break
These
it
are
to
things that Lloyd would know. These.
Yeah, maybe. Is he
you.
not?
He never played here.
Is he not need?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a big.
One too many clues.
5-star.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the seggies. We're gonna let everybody go. It's Wednesday. It's 8:10. It's fine. Mistake of the day is brought to you by Doe's Eat Place.
Doe's Eat Place, which we need to get back to.
We do. I went there last week for a lunch. I didn't cheat on y'all. It was a business lunch. I had to go there.
Of course.
But now, next week.
Tax write-off. Found out a lot about taxes.
Next week.
Those are due.
No,
So
we're
if you
not due
filed
now.
for the extinction, the
Extension.
not extinction. Because I wish they were extinct. But
Don't
speaking
we
of
all?
not,
Well, then if they were extinct, you wouldn't have health insurance.
I still don't.
I thought you do.
No.
Oh.
Just flying by the seat of my pants. I've
There
been
you
to the
go.
doctor since I was 18.
Nice.
Great. Doing fine. Feel great. Speaking of extinct, something that may have popped up on your Twitter feed or not, there has been a sighting. Oh, no.
Don't say it's Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot.
Oh, my
Make
gosh.
sure it's working.
It ain't Bigfoot.
See, they don't even want me to play it. Oh, let me put it back up. But yes, Bigfoot was seen from a train.
Wow.
If you watch it, you can see what is either Bigfoot. I don't know what else it would be, but to me, it looks
You gotta rewind it to the beginning. You get the biggest.
that's
look
where he
at
is.
that.
Look at him.
I mean, kind of. I'm not saying it's.
Look, he's taking a little rest.
I'm not saying it is.
Where was
but
this?
Colorado.
Let me see your camera all
I'm not saying it's not, because that's pretty.
Pretty damning.
That's pretty damning. Is that a mistake on Bigfoot for showing himself in the daylight?
Yeah, I mean, Bigfoot's got to. I mean, he's losing a step. I guess people get so comfortable with believing that it won't be Bigfoot.
And the other mistake of the day is James Franklin.
Oh yeah, I forgot that I said that. Yeah, James Franklin absolutely wearing out a reporter. And there's a third mistake of the day.
I wish. This is what I wish. If to make it a curtain call and not a mistake of the day, I wish he would have broken down why you don't just throw the ball downfield.
Just
to
for
throw
fun.
it. Just to do it. Oh, so you're saying you just want me to throw it down there?
Makes my skin
Just call
crawl.
it to throw it? Like,
Just see if you can do it.
and then like I wish you'd have gone into reasons why you don't. Like,
Yeah.
hey, what if the safety's, too high?
Not what we do.
and
That's
whatever,
not why
whatever,
we do
you
things
know.
here. But
Yeah, he handled it all right.
yeah, the reporter came out on Twitter. He's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry for the bad question. Can you please stop telling me to kill myself?" It's like, okay, buddy. I think you're probably taking it a little too far.
Well, he didn't say kill yourself.
Yeah, no. People on Twitter are saying that he's
Oh.
an idiot. All of these things.
That's the guy that wants attention, dude.
Yeah, of course. Try to double down.
For sure.
Somebody puts his family in his bio.
Yeah. Current Call is brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners.
And?
Me.
Okay.
For all your insurance needs, give us a call at Assured Partners. What we got? Anybody got one?
I got one that just happened tonight. I like when guys keep receipts, so it's pretty fun to watch. We talked about it a little bit. We hinted on it a little bit earlier, but there was some reaction, interaction, if you will, from Orlando Arcia, Brave shortstop, yesterday or Monday when Bryce got thrown out to end the game. Bryce kept all those receipts.
And his teammates kept their
And
receipts.
his teammates kept the receipts. And after each homer, he went back to those receipts and revisited them. So
I mean,
you
that-
didn't get a chance to see all of that. It was actually beautiful. I loved it.
Those
'Cause That's what
receipts-
creates sports, and that's what creates rivalries, and that's what creates memories.
Yep.
Honestly, so
Those receipts may lose the Braves.
it may lose. It may send the Braves home, and they may be playing
One
this
of the
next
best
game and
teams in
saying
baseball.
1, 2, 3 vacation. That could be happening.
No
soon,
doubt.
So
My curtain call is similar. Not, I mean, obviously that is a curtain call, no doubt. My curtain call is to the guy on the mound. and Aaron Nola. My
Touched
friend.
on him earlier.
I mean, he went. He has a career high in strikeouts today. Playoff career high, 9 strikeouts. That is great. I mean,
That's after number 2. He didn't want to look at him again.
Look, Garcia head down.
He didn't want to look
He
at him
knew
again.
it was coming
He
his
knew.
way.
He got it after number 1. He didn't want to see it again after
Yeah.
number 2. That was after number 2.
Hey, buddy, you messed up.
Don't
You
poke-
think
don't
the
poke
guys in the
bear.
dugout? Hey, bro, don't say a thing.
You know what? You should just leave him alone. Don't poke it.
That's a max, triple, quadruple max fine on Kangaroo Court.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
you
Hey, actually, you know what? You're paying for the whole party.
You
yourself.
sent us home in game 2 and you didn't even realize.
Yeah. Hey, your playoff shares that you just got, that's going to the party.
In the bucket.
Give that back.
And you're not
don't need
invited.
Give that back. You can't come. You can't come. My current call, like I said, is not to the offense. I love that. One of my really good buddies that I played with in Castellanos, he went deep first. But my current call is to Aaron Nola. You know, I feel like he's kind of like a little brother to me. I got to watch him grow up. Career high in strikeouts, 9 punchies. Put them in the driver's seat to win, to move to the ALCS. I hope they make it. I would like to go and watch them play. You know, if it's the Houston and Rangers series, they're going to be in Texas if they make it to the World Series. If Philly makes the World Series, so I'd like to go watch him. He's a free agent in the year, so that's my curtain call. Lloyd,
Noted. Needed.
got one?
Big time performance. He seems to show up in big games. And
Big time.
Castellanos seems to have a penchant for the home run.
yes, he does. So does Bryce.
And my curtain call is actually kind of wild. If you look at the screen, Njoku for
Whoa.
the Browns.
So that's how he
That's what he
burned
looked like. And he
his face?
played like that.
He played
Oh my
after he
God.
had
How
gotten
do you put a helmet on that?
Coach, I have no idea, but don't ever doubt these people's dedication to the game.
Oh my God.
That man was obviously severe facial burns. No clue how it happened. I don't know what happened, but
I wonder if it was like a grease thing that like.
I don't know.
Oh
but
my God.
for him to show
How
up,
was his eyes even? I don't even understand.
first things that closed, I guess.
Damn, that's
Reaction
crazy.
time.
Shout out to him, bro. That's,
Yeah.
I don't
That's
think
tough.
anybody in that locker room and or on the field would ever question.
And how he
his
walked into the
toughness ever
stadium was
again.
kind of
Yeah, I mean, it
pretty-
makes sense now.
yeah.
Yeah, he showed up with these all masked up, and then obviously for a good reason, didn't want to, I guess, put any doubt as to why he was there. But to
Yeah.
release the picture after even bigger
Damn, that's
salute.
crazy. That's crazy. Good for him for playing.
Good for him. Curtain call. That's why they're
great
there.
curtain call. That's a great curtain call. That's all we got for you today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the last baseball playoff game tonight. You have the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks look to sweep the Dodgers and move on to the NLCS. We'll be watching at home. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you don't like watching us or can't watch us, you like listening to us or anywhere you get your pods. We appreciate all love and support. We'll be back live in studio here at Cards and Culture from 1 to 3 this Friday, previewing the Auburn game in more detail. Obviously it's Wednesday. We didn't really want to get too much into detail. We're going to have, an Auburn writer on
Johnny on the
show.
spot.
And we're going to have, LSU writers. We're going to talk a lot about it, preview it. So come and join us if you're walking around Cards and Culture and you want to come in and see it live. Come on in, grab a pop. Stores open, shops open. Come and buy some cards. They just landed a big card. Someone just got a big card. I think it was like a $25,000 card that is going to end up being a lot more. Probably six, seven, maybe 7 figures when it's all said and done at the end of this player's career. So give a shout. We love you. Appreciate you. We'll see you on Friday. Peace.